Good evening, everyone. We're here for the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing on these items to be considered on the January 12th meeting. We have a list of 14 items for the public hearing. I will read those for the record. The first is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 39.34 acres, property located at 5025 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 77, parcel 1, parcel 1.03, located within the city's urban growth boundary, and adopt the plan of services. The second item is an ordinance to rezone approximately 39.34 acres of property at 5025 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 77, parcel 1 and 1.03 from Wilson R1 to CMU PUD, and to adopt a preliminary master development plan for the courtyards of McFarland. The third item is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet a portion of the the roadway and the right-of-way located at South Green Hill Road from the existing city limits near the Lebanon Road intersection to the southeastern property corner of parcel 53152 within Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary, and adopt the plan of services. The next item is an ordinance to rezone the property located at 3336 North Mount Juliet Road, approximately 1.37 acres, map 54, parcel 179.02, from RS40 to CTC. The next item is an ordinance to rezone the property located at 6600 Central Pike, approximately 8.21 acres, map 97, parcel 18, from RS40 to CMU. The next item is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, approximately 6.58 acres of property located at 2964 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 64.05. The property being located within the city's urban growth boundary, and adopt the plan of services. The next item is an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 5, 6, and 7, Sections 5103A, 5103.4, 6103A, 6103.3, 7103A, building heights. The next item is an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 8, 207.3, minimum lot area in PUD overlay districts. The next item is an ordinance to rezone the property located at 3971 Beckwith Road, approximately 5.21 acres, map 78, parcel 21.06, from Wilson County R1 to CI Exchange Commercial. The next is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 5.21 acres of property at 3971 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.06, the property being located within the city's urban growth boundary, and to adopt a plan of services. The next item is an ordinance to amend Part B of the Land Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 9, Section 9106, Access Management. The next item is an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article, that's a big one. Article 14, Public Notices, Section 14-1094. And the next item is an ordinance to amend the City of Mount Juliet Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, Article 9, Truck Routes. And the final item is an ordinance to amend Ordinance 2505.5 that extends the sunset date until October 31st, 2025, which amends the Ordinance 2024-5, Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, known as Zoning Regulations, by amending Article 3, Use and Regulations, are adding Section 3, 108, Temporary Events, Uses, and Portable Buildings, to include mobile vendors, food trucks, regulations, residential and industrial districts, by extending the sunset date from December 31st, 2025 until December 31st, 2026. And if you were here to comment on any of these items, I would invite you to come forward, give your name and address for the record at the podium, and you will be recognized for 3 minutes. I'm glad somebody's coming forward after reading all that. Name and address for the record, please.
Williams, 98 Tanglewood Drive, Mount Juliet. I just wanted to, I don't have any objections to the right of way, but I was just wanting to make sure that like on my property, I don't wind up like a sheer 5 foot, uh, bank on the edge of my property. I mean, will it be, if it's taken, will it be graded kind of, where it's not so,
Which item are you referring to, sir?
the, right of way, uh, redoing the right of way on South Green Hill Road.
Oh, I follow you. Shane, can you address that one? Yeah. Would you mind getting together with Shane here? He can go into the details on that one. Does anyone else have a public comment?
Well, my name is Al Williams. I live at 801 Moreland Hills Drive. Wanted to compliment the mayor on reminding me of a commercial in the 1970s about Federal Express about a man who spoke like really fast, apparently without any punctuation. So compliment you, sir, on doing that as well. Two things. I'm talking about the road South Green Hill, same as the guy before. I'm a elder at the church on the corner there, and we have some limited parking. So I see some benefits for the city taking over some of the road. And I mean, I'm not fussed about that part, but if there were any expansion or anything coming up, I would just want to make sure we had adequate notice and discussion regarding that, because we have very limited parking, ADA. We also have a child care as minister of our church that's there as well. So it'd be a very serious discussion to have if we were going to have any disruptions with regards to that too. No objections to the city to making improvements. We just need to coordinate that.
I believe most of that's centered around the right of way the applicant that's building over there is donating. But we got Todd here in the front row that can.
Oh yeah. Yes, I don't think anything that's immediate to discuss. I'm talking about when if something pops up with that as well. The other question too is for the other annexations, are there anticipated property tax increases to other citizens? Now I'm speaking as a citizen of the city. So there's big new developments on South Green Hill Road, big developments that probably cause some other costs as well. So do these annexations, these changes, will they increase property taxes in the near future for other citizens to pay for the new neighborhoods and the city services that are being extended to them as well?
Well, these improvements being done on the road are being done by the applicant.
Okay.
So I couldn't say that that's going to cause any immediate impact, but as you know, roads have to be maintained in the long term.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more that have been roads that have to be maintained. Yes, sir, that's it. Anyway, so register that those comments. Thank you for listening. Appreciate your work with us.
All right. And thank you, sir. Thank you for your past service to the city as well. Anyone else? I read really fast to save a lot of time for comments. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming out for the public hearing. We'll adjourn this public hearing now that we've heard from the public, and we will reconvene at 6:30 for our regular meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Why you need a shoulder to cry on?
I can't say I do. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. Today is January 12th. Since we have a quorum present, I'll call this meeting to order. And our first item on our agenda is to set the agenda that we have. If you'd like to follow along on the agenda, there are copies of the agenda printed in the wire baskets in the back. I'm going to propose some changes here to the agenda, and I'm going to propose moving 9A to the consent agenda, 9C to consent, 9E, 9F, and 9G. Under new business 10A, 10B, 10I, 10J, it's 10K, 10L, and 10M. KLM. Is there any objections to those? Sure. Scott. 9A, 9C, E, F, G, 10A, 10B, 10I, J, K, L, M.
Bye, Val.
That is correct. Any objections? Okay. Without objection, we'll move those 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 items to consent. I'd also propose the last 6 items we have on the agenda are 3 different properties side by side, all straight zoning. I propose moving those to consent if there's appetite. Okay. Ten R is 6391 Central Pike. And 10 R and S are to deal with 6391 Central Pike. No. We just keep them off. It's not a big deal.
The others are okay.
So those, all of them on those, just those two?
Well, yeah, we would. Commissioner Mullally isn't okay with R and S, so that would leave us with N, O, P, and Q. Which sounds like a bad license plate. If there's no objections, we will. N, O, P, Q, if there's no objections. Was there any objections to the 4? Okay, we'll move those 4 to consent as well. Any other changes to the agenda? All right. Without objection, we will adopt the agenda as set with the 14 changes outlined to the consent agenda, which means that everybody gets to hear me read a long list again. So the next item after set agenda is invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd like to ask our city manager if you would be so kind as to lead us in our invocation and pledge, please.
Everybody bow your heads with me, please. Dear Lord, as we meet today, please be with us. Guide our thoughts, ideas, and decisions. Bless us abundantly, all who are present. Come be with us, inspire us, and lead us in our time together. We ask this in your name. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Next item is citizen comments. So at this point, I'll open up the floor to anyone. I am sorry, I'm skipping one too many. Our next item is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting that we held on December 8th. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Any changes, questions? All in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes do carry with a vote of 4 with 1 abstention. So that puts us right back to where I started at, which was citizen comments. So we're going to open the floor up for citizen comments. If you would like to address the Board of Commissioners, this is your opportunity to come forward and make a comment. The board is under no obligations, though, to answer questions from the floor, but we will do our best, if I can, to have a staff member perhaps get with you if it's warranted. But I would open up the floor. I'd ask you to come forward, give your name and address for the record, and you'll be recognized for 3 minutes if you'd like to address the board. Name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Jay Easter with Pape Dawson, formerly Reagan Smith, 315 Woodland Street, Nashville, Tennessee. Here with the EBCON Development Group for the McFarland Courtyards at McFarland Farms. Just wanted the commissioners to know we were here if needed during your discussion. And to make you aware, we did do as instructed and met with staff following the other meeting to work out an agreeable condition of approval for the commercial. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, actually evening. Stephen Heckendorf at 393 Page Drive. So I know it's been about a month. Hopefully all enjoyed your holidays. But there's several different things that I think tie in from last meeting. And I know I talked with Laylee after as well. And I do believe that the citizens of Mount Juliet should hear a discussion about where each of you elected officials stand on 3 really key important issues that I think over the next years are going to be really important for people to know now what you believe. And that goes around growth, taxes, and cutting waste. Growth I believe there should be a discussion on Hefner's amendment. Here's, even if you don't agree with it, I think a healthy discussion is warranted because I think people should be able to go back and forth and have a hearty debate, because that's the only way that everyone will be able to understand each other, because this is in the open, everyone's discussing. There's no secrets like, oh, well, what's that person thinking? What's that person considering? Like, what's the backstory? I just think it's better to discuss it and get it on the open. Everyone will be able to understand then where each of you sit. And I understand last meeting, I mean, I talked with Trevette afterwards. I don't think it wasn't a discussion because the commissioner comments were used for the discussion. And I think it's important to have the discussion on the item on the table, because that way, either you can amend it, you can even kill it, you can put a poison pill in it, but then you could at least vote on it. And then everyone has the idea of like, oh, well, if you put a poison pill of like the opposite, well, and everyone votes for it, well, that's one way to end the discussion. So I would appreciate that. I think it's important. Malia, you have been really straight in telling people where you stand, which is really appreciated. I don't necessarily agree with everything, as you know, because if you take the argument that growth is the only way to have revenue, then you're forever going to be stacking house on houses. And then if we go the other route of we only have taxes, then you're just going to be taxing people's property for eternity. And everybody's going to be like, well, my hands are tied. The budget's growing over exponentially. So that's why it comes to cutting waste too. So we've increased, we agreed on under 3 times what we had been paying. And I know you wanted potentially up to 6 times. And I think we should also understand what the goal is. And I know we're going to have an updated budget set up here soon. But I do think that there needs to be an idea of everyone's where they sit. I've asked several of you. I know you don't want to raise taxes again, property taxes, and I know that you don't want to do that. But what's the goal to get there? Is that going to be looking at the budget with a fine-tooth comb and cutting every single thing that's not unnecessary, revamping systems, and deploying technology, the cutting waste? And so that's kind of where I rise, just to say, hey, I really would love to hear. And I think this public setting, I think starting with the discussion on the amendment, I think that's one way to go. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Is there anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners?
Yeah, I'm Chad Keelan with 3971 Beckwith. I'm just letting you know that I'm here to address any questions you may have over it. But our whole intentions are just to comply with what the growth plan was for Mount Juliet with annexation and go along with the C1. Nothing spectacular. Just letting you know I'm here.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Well, seeing none, we'll close citizen comments. We'll move into commissioner comments and reports. Commissioner Giles, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
All right. Well, Happy New Year to all who are here and at home. I hope you had a good Christmas as well. I want to thank all of you who participated in the Christmas light walk. It was December the 15th. We had a great turnout. Every year differs. Some years there's more, some there's less. It was very cold. We appreciate Dunkin' Donuts for providing the refreshments. We also appreciate Mount Juliet Band of Gold for playing for us out there. It was truly a hallmark moment, wasn't it, City Manager? It was great. Many of us here were there. Most of us here at this table were there, and just had a great evening. So thank you all. Thank you for Willoughby Station for allowing us to conduct that there in your parking lot. And so it was a great turnout. I also want to mention about 6 years ago, I guess, or 4 years, time goes by so quick, we got for a nonprofit organization that I serve as a president on. It's called Friends of Mount Juliet BPAC. We got our 501c3 status, and I came down here, matter of fact, and announced it because I was very serious about it, because our goal and our aim was to be able to apply for grants, to be able to give that to the city of Mount Juliet so that we can extend our sidewalks and greenways and increase education and awareness of the city. So as you well know, it takes time. So thanks to City Manager Martin, he was able to put us on to a grant that was available. We applied for it and it was awarded. And so we received $15,000. And to some, that may not be a lot, but to us, it's a lot. And it goes to the city to a project that's going to come a little later this year in District 4. And it's this connectivity that we're trying to construct. And I'm really excited about it. So I wanted to thank all who had a hand of it. Matt White, the Public Works Director, is on that organization as well. And so we all meet normally at night at another location and go over the stuff. And so we appreciate all the work that everyone has done and looking forward to it. There's so anyway, hopefully there'll be more in the future so that we can do and give to the city. So we're excited about it. So Mayor, that completes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Recognize our Vice Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. And thanks for everybody online and also in the room tonight. Welcome back. That parade was pretty cool, wasn't it? And then, of course, the Christmas lights. I'll tell you, we're very blessed city. From what I heard from the residents, the parade this year went by smoothly. It was long, which is great. That means we got a good participation and all the kids were happy. I think they got so much candy that there's going to be a lot of good dentist bills here coming up in 2026. So everybody should be able to be very happy on that one. All jokes aside, there's a couple things though. Just want to thank our first responders as I always do, because as we were all having fun throughout the holidays, these folks were in there taking care of 911, dispatchers, the police, fire, ambulance. So as we're all out with family and friends, they're out protecting our roads and our streets and our communities. So thank you, gentlemen and ladies. We greatly appreciate you. And my family and I think about you guys every time we hear the sirens coming down the street of what's coming down. So it's just great that we know that we've got the best in the state of Tennessee. With the gentleman that came up, actually he's in my district, so me and him chat a lot about my my thoughts on the growth. I do think we are definitely growing a little too fast, in my opinion. Taxes, I'm not a fan of them. I think smaller government's always better. And cutting waste. Actually, I just talked to our deputy city manager tonight. That was one of the things that was one of my conversations, which is for 2026, where are we with each department? Because I know that's one thing that our city manager is expecting our deputy manager to be looking at. And I appreciate those two gentlemen that are looking at where we can do to cut back and make sure that each department is being, respecting the taxpayers' time and money. That's very important to me. So for the folks that reached out to me over the last couple of weeks, thank you. If I missed anyone on my emails, I apologize. That's one thing that I try to do is, respond back as quick as possible. For the folks that are out there, I've actually sent 3 emails to a couple of residents and never heard back from you. So if you're listening tonight, I sent you 3 emails to 2 different email families, and I'm not responding anymore to you. I gave you 3 shots. So give me a call back and I'll start the whole process over again. So other than that, welcome back, everyone. I hope everybody has a great 2026 as we are falling into the winter weathers. Just be careful, be patient, and be respectful. That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. With that, I recognize Commissioner Hefner. You're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that, and happy birthday. Mayor Manus. Appreciate everybody coming out this evening and those watching online. It seems like forever that I've attended a board meeting. We've had some holidays in between. We missed some that we canceled the meetings on. And one, the last one, which unfortunate, I was 5 minutes from boarding a 4.5-hour flight back to make this meeting. And it was the first meeting in December when I learned about the death of a dear friend of mine who lives not too far behind me. I won't mention his name. But I want to go ahead and post some very valuable information for any veterans that are contemplating or having some issues, contemplating taking your own life, or even family members of a veteran that's contemplating. There is a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week hotline. The number is up on the screen. I encourage you to reach out. It's free. So I encourage you. So God bless him. I know he's in a better place. So with that being said, a couple other things I want to mention. Happy New Year's. Merry Christmas. Hope everyone has a prosperous 2026. I want to end on this. Last meeting I attended, there was a lot that I wish we didn't have that. I wish we had that break on Thanksgiving, because there was much I wanted to say about that meeting, that early November meeting. But I'm not gonna go through it. I'm not gonna. I've gained another year. I'm a year older, maybe a year wiser, and a little bit more patient. So I'm not going to go through the long list of things I was going to mention. But my only hope is tonight that I get a second on the ordinance that I'm attempting to have an open and honest debate on. Hope we get a second to have that, and then let's vote on it. So appreciate that, and again, welcome everybody back to the new year, and that's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mullally, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. All right, so the budget that was brought up, as you know, as far as where I stand, the way it works over the course of the year, at budget time, the financial director brings forth a suggested rate that would take us into the next budget cycle. That's how it worked. And then our financial director brought a rate that would have been sustainable to take us into the next year. Unfortunately, the sales tax numbers aren't what they once were, so those were way down. Growth was down. It dropped from 7% to 2.5%, thereabout. So we had some issues that we had to face. So as you know, the property tax rate was cut 3 times, which did not leave us, in my opinion, of a sustainable balance of reserves, which was 7 million. And I think that actually includes the $1.5 million for the hotel motel, which goes to parks. So I think that includes that. So anyway, it ended up being 7 million to take us into the next budget. So that I felt it was a bad budget, and that's the reason that I voted against it. We did cut $6 million in operating expenses. So, I mean, we cut everything possible. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question as far as the budget of where I stood on it. We don't know what's going to happen in this next budget cycle. Our financial director will get the numbers, and when we have the work sessions, we'll have 2. She would bring us a suggested rate, and that's where it starts. In my opinion, the rate should come from finance and not this board. Let's see. As far as the moratorium, I don't think there's any secret that I'm not in favor of it. However, if it does get a second, I'm prepared to discuss it. So, and that was it. I don't know. There was something else that I didn't write down. I think there was something else I missed. So sorry about that, but I'll talk to you after the meeting if you want. Let's see. So we held a work session in December on the future growth, sustainable growth for the next 20 to 40 years of the city. And we had a PowerPoint and presented a plan about responsible development. And it was very good. So if you didn't get to come or you didn't see it, I would highly recommend you go on the city's website and look that up. It's on video. It was on December 8th, I believe it was, at 5:15 that day. And so I just want to wish the mayor a happy birthday, as well as Commissioner Hefner. He's had a birthday too. And so 3 of us on the board have January birthdays. I have one in a couple of weeks. So we have 2 Capricorns and a Aquarius. So anyway, happy birthday. That's all.
Thank you for your comments. I'll add, I just want to say I wish everybody had as nice of a Christmas as I did. I got to spend some time with the family, both the kids home from college. So that's always nice and a plus, and hope everybody's New Year's is starting off as well. I thought our Christmas parade, the previous one we had, was probably the best Christmas parade as far as the way it operated that I recall being in. So I've just got to say, staff, you guys went above and beyond on this one. I thought it went very well. And even with that, the BPAC walk, I thought that went as well as possible. One of the better events. And just like you pointed out, the band coming out, and they were spot on. So appreciate all the efforts that went into that. And I know my birthday's been mentioned. It's not my birthday today, but I did have a birthday. Commissioner Hefner's had a birthday as well, so happy birthday. And for you, got one coming. So it's January holds a quorum for us, if you know what that means. So, and Commissioner, I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your friend. I didn't know that was something you were dealing with. So I know it's never an easy situation, but there were 3 questions asked. I think one about growth, taxes, and cutting waste. I'll say with growth, and Commissioner Mullally led with this. My concern with growth is where we're going to be as a city from sustainable growth, putting the right kind of growth into this city, which growth is coming. If it's not coming in the city, it's definitely coming around the city, but managing what, 1, happens in the city, and 2, what happens around the city is high on my list. But I'll say this, I spend just as much time thinking about growth. I spend an equal amount of time thinking about what the city will do or how the city will operate when the growth stops, because no place grows forever. And the growth that we do get now, it's extremely important for me to make sure that growth is something that can be sustained. And I know there's a question about in the public hearing on here is like, will this project that you voted for at a previous date cause us to raise our property tax? I don't think that project will cause us to raise our property taxes anyway, but their infrastructure and other things around that, and the way that some of these developments are brought in, we have to be very mindful of the fact that we're accepting infrastructure that has to be maintained into the future and what that's going to look like. Of course, taxes, it was mentioned that taxes recently went up. I will say our rate has more than doubled since the last rate. But I would also point out that this city, even with the recent increase in taxes, it's still 50% less than any city in this county. So there's a lot to be said about the way this city operates. And there's a lot to be said about the fact that this city has operated as in the bottom 5 in the state previously as far as tax rates. And with this city, we're the only one I know of that operates a fire department, EMS, all those things. I'm the only one that we know of that was able to ever take it on at the rate that we took it on. And we've had an increase in taxes, but it always gets fronted by saying, it's a huge increase or whatever the percentage is on it. But the total of it is still, if you live in Mount Juliet, you're still getting a lot of value for what you pay. You're still in the bottom. You're still paying less than half of any other municipality in this county. But my goal is to always keep taxes as low as humanly possible and still operate this city with the basic services. The other question I think was about cutting waste. I will say with my time with the city, I have found what one calls waste, the other one calls their favorite hobby. Um, so sometimes what one person will look at and say is wasteful that the city shouldn't be spending on, you've got another person standing right beside them and thinks this is the whole reason we should have a city to begin with, is to pay for this. So sometimes it's not always so clear as to what the definition of waste is. I mean, we know what spending money on stuff that we shouldn't be spending on, leaving the lights on in a building that we're not there, that's wasteful, and we want to do everything to eliminate that. But sometimes at the local level, what actually is legitimate spending or what's being wasteful is a subject that there's not always a consensus on. There's a clear consensus on what actual waste is that you think of, but there's a lot of things that the city does there's not a clear consensus on. But anyway, I hope everybody's having a good 2026, and I'll end my comments and recognize our city manager.
Thank you, commissioners and everybody that came tonight, those watching from home. Hope everybody had a great Christmas and New Year's. We are extremely blessed in this community, and I was going to point out a few of those things. For example, we just had a ribbon cutting at another new business recently. Actually, had two last week, and one of them I'm drawing a complete blank on, but the other was thanks to the Robinson family, which is here tonight, for the new Sprouts that we've got there with Everett Downs, which is a local family that had owned that property for a long time. And there's a nice new business called Back Nine, I believe it is. If you hadn't been there and you like golf and don't want to get out in the elements, I encourage you to go there. It's really super cool. Some of the latest, greatest technology, and these folks that invest in our community, a lot of money in that building. It's really cool. So I'd encourage you maybe give them a look. Sacheros, again, I mentioned Sprouts. The gentleman that's talking earlier is a good friend of ours. He comes to a lot of our meetings. I couldn't agree with him more. We strive to keep our taxes low. And the way we do that is by encouraging people to shop local with all of our businesses. And it's sad that, maybe not a week goes by that we don't find out if a local shop owner or business is unfortunately just can't make it. As everybody knows, their cost goes up just like our costs. And you guys all understand that with grocery stores and gasoline, things of that nature. But we're striving every day to not only encourage our people to shop locally. So one way that you can get involved in keeping your taxes low, I know it sounds so self-serving and selfish, is to literally, if you live in the city limits of Mount Jewett, Tennessee, if you need something and you can get it here, get it here. I know for convenience purposes, sometimes it's easy to say, well, I'll just get it in Nashville or get it in another adjoining city. When you do that, that sales tax, 100% of it stays in that community and not yours. And so selfishly, we've got some new businesses coming. Texas Roadhouse, they'll be opening, I believe, in March, if I'm correct. So when they open, we hope you guys absolutely flood them with business, but continue to support your local businesses enough to go around. Haverty's, if you like Haverty's furniture, and I know how folks are, I know in my own household, I think our mattress is about 30 years old. Looks like it don't be on a couple of episodes of Dateline. It's really bad. And so we're looking at replacing that. Well, a typical California King today costs $5,000. So when you go buy, if you're buying an industrial base, it's another $5,000. You could spend $10,000 just like that, just on a bed. Well, we just toured the Rooms to Go showroom, and that building's absolutely huge. So as soon as they outfit it with probably what's going to be millions of dollars of furniture, I'm hoping that residents in this community and outside this community come and shop there. So you'll have a Rooms to Go, you'll have an Ashley's, you'll have a Haverty's, and all the other businesses in Mount Jewett like At Home and things of that nature. Please shop with them. A lot of folks have called and asked me about Whataburger on 70. Unfortunately, a business shoots for it, and it just doesn't work. We taste buds don't suit the citizens of Mount Jewett, or we have too much of something. So be helping us. Send us ideas you've got for that. It's a unique situation because Whataburger controls the lease on that building. So they'll have it for a while, and so it'd be up to them to sublease that building. And we've got a lot of interest. Sadly, at the end of the day, it's up to Whataburger on who backfills it. It could be anything from a bank to an eye doctor to a dentist to another retailer. We just don't know. But we are sending them lots of suggestions, and there's a lot of interest. So I know a lot of people would ask about that. A lot of people ask about a lot of different businesses. So please just continue to support your local business. And last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to our entire Public Works Department, which includes stormwater and Public Works and the building development part of Public Works. A lot of what they do doesn't get noticed in the public like it does with a lot of departments, but we're dealing with them daily. We probably meet with if there's any department we meet with, it's probably Public Works. We had meetings today, and they all know it. And they work tremendously hard behind the scenes on things that we don't even think of that are technical. And, in some ways, I guess you could call some of those details even boring. But what doesn't get noticed sometimes is traffic. It was said one time in Mount Jewett that the orange barrels are a friend. They're like our state bird. If you see construction barrels, that's a good thing. So I want to give this commission a shout out and our public works a shout out, because probably in all my many years of being in the, going to a lot of the meetings in the city, I defer a lot of those meetings, that gentleman right there, Matt White, to try to seek funds from the state of Tennessee and federal government on behalf of the city of Mount Juliet. And our public works department as a group does that together. And by far, and Matt will tell me if I'm lying, I think by far we probably get as many, if not more, road projects in Mount Juliet. You may not see them because they take a long time to come through to fruition. So if you've traveled Old Lebanon Dirt Road recently, you probably dealt with a lot of flagmen and traffic stops and frustrations and plates on the road, and things of that nature. But that is a big, big sign of progress, because that means that road, as soon as those utilities get moved in short order, the road will be getting widened. Well, our Public Works Department, with the hard work of Mr. Matt White, recently secured a grant for nearly $24 million for the Central Pike interchange. And doesn't count lots and lots of other hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars that team has acquired on the city's behalf to hopefully speed that project up by a couple of years. And a lot of these things, like Old Lebanon Dirt Road, started years and years ago, and the coordination that goes into that is unbelievable. If you see a telephone pole, just think there's probably 5 or 6 utilities attached to that pole, and you got to get them to all work together to get them moved so you can move that pole. If you see gas lines, water lines, all that's got to be done, and they've done it. So you'll see Old Lebanon Dirt Road getting widened. So I can promise you, you may not see it, because sadly these things just take a while. For example, Golden Bear was held up for a year over the Indiana bat. All right. And I love Indiana, by the way. Congratulations. I lived in Gary, Indiana for a short time when I was a kid. So Indiana's doing very well, but we love the bats and all, but we didn't like the road project getting held up. Never heard of such a thing. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody's patience, to the citizens that make Mount Juliet what it is, and such an awesome place to live. Everybody here works extremely hard. It's not a person that we got here at the city, including the people in our community, don't work extremely hard. And one last thing, kudos to this commission. In my 36 years here, we've been trying to find a place for our senior citizens. And this commission stepped up and said, you know what? We've got a police department that, if it had not been for one of our local churches, I'm drawing a blank, the church on Joy Church. Joy Church brought the city joy by giving us basically a really good deal on the building that the police department just moved out of. And so we're returning that favor. And basically what they did, they carried the note at no interest to the city. Saved the city no telling how much money to do that. And so what we did is basically this commission said, you know what, we're going to repay that, and we're going to let the senior citizens use it for, I think it's 100 years, for $1 a year. That's paying it forward, folks. So that's the kind of community you live in. That's the kind of community I'm proud of, and that's the kind of community I'm thankful for. God bless everybody, because that's the most important thing, because without you, there is no city of Mount Juliet. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. With that, we'll move to the consent agenda. By my count, we have 23 items for me to read for the record. I'll get started, get comfortable. 8A, an ordinance to rezone the property located at 3336 North Mount Juliet Road, approximately 1.37 acres, map 54, parcel 179.01 from RS40 to CTC. 8B, an ordinance to rezone the property located at 6600 Central Pike, approximately 8.21 acres, map 97, parcel 18 from RS40 to CMU. 8C, an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 5, 6, and 7, Sections 5103A, 5103.4, 6103A, 6103.3, and 7103A, building heights. 8D, a resolution adopting the plan of services for the property known as the Hell property located at 2964 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 64.05 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 8E, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 6.58 acres of property at 2964 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 64.05, the property being located within the city's urban growth boundary. 8F, a resolution and memorandum of ordinance relative to the annexation of approximately 6.5 acres of land at 2964 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 64.05, 8G, an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the zoning regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by as amended by Article 14, Public Notices, Section 14-1094. The next item is 9A, an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as zoning regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 8, 2073, minimum lot area in PUD overlay districts. The next item, 9C, an ordinance to amend Ordinance 2025-5 that extends the sunset date until December 31st, 2025, which amends Ordinance 2024-5, Part B of the city's Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, known as zoning regulations, by amending Article 3, use regulations, adding Section 3-108, temporary events, portable buildings, to include mobile food vendors, food trucks, regulations for residential and industrial districts to extend the sunset date from December 31st, 2025 until December 31st, 2026. The next item, 9E, a resolution adopting the plan of services for the South Green Hill Road and right-of-way located at South Green Hill Road from the existing city limits near Lebanon Road intersection to the southeastern property corner of parcel 53-152 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 9F, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the City of Mount Juliet the portion of roadway and right-of-way located at South Green Hill Road from the existing city limits near Lebanon Road intersection to the southeastern property corner of parcel 53-152 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. And then there's 9G, a resolution and memorandum of ordinance relative to the annexation of the portion of the roadway and right-of-way located at South Green Hill Road from the existing city limits near Lebanon Road intersection to the southeastern property corner of parcel 53-152. Then under new business, you can find 10A, an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for Providence Central Planned Unit Development, Ordinance 2013-12, located at map 97, parcel 25, 75.7 in the city of Mount Juliet. 9B, an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for the village at Pleasant Grove Planned Unit Development located on Pleasant Grove Road, map 76, parcel 37 and 3701 and 40 in the city of Mount Juliet. A resolution approving a police K-9 transfer agreement and release waiver for K-9 between the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee. 10J, a resolution approving the award of construction contract for the Highway 70 pump station valve replacement and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. 10K, a resolution approving an agreement between the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and various engineering firms for design and construction inspection services of the city's capital transportation projects and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. 10L, a resolution declaring the city of Mount Juliet's fire department property as surplus to be donated to Overton County EMS. 10M, a resolution accepting a donation of a diesel engine portable light tower for the city of Mount Juliet's police department. 10N, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 1 acre of property at 6325 Central Pike, map 97, parcel 14.01. The property being located within the city's urban growth boundary. 10O, an ordinance to rezone property located at 6325 Central Pike, approximately 1 acre, map 97, parcel 14.01 from Wilson County R1 to CMU commercial use. 10P, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 0.92 acres of property at 6365 Central Pike, Mount 97, parcel 14, the property being located within the city's urban growth boundary. And 10Q, an ordinance to rezone property at 6365 Central Pike, approximately 90.92 acres, map 97, parcel 14, from Wilson County R1 to CMU commercial use. And that is the 23 items. Have a motion? All in favor of the consent agenda? Can it wait till after this vote?
On one of the consent items.
What's the question?
On 6600 Central Pike, on that rezone for the 8 acres going on to commercial mixed use. The owner has a truck business there. Is that going to be allowed under CMU?
Sorry, John?
Anything existing is can remain.
Existing?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all.
All in favor of the consent, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda does carry for those 23 items. So we will move into the next item on our agenda under unfinished business, which was 9B, which is an ordinance to amend the City of Mount Juliet's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, Article 9, truck routes.
Motion.
Have a motion? And motion and second. The item is on the table. Commissioner Mullally, do you have a comment? You have the floor.
Okay, this is an amendment to our truck routes ordinance. It's recently kind of discovered that the word deliveries was causing issues with the police department being able to enforce it. So this is an amendment to add some language in there that would give PD the teeth that they need, and the trucks would have to provide proof that they're on that road or a non-truck route for a delivery, and they have to have paperwork to prove it that they're going to a particular address. So this is just giving them what they need in order to enforce it. I'm not opposed to trucks. I like trucks. They move America. My grandfather was a truck driver. I just want the trucks to, and this is not Amazon trucks. It's mostly 18 wheelers cutting through using their GPS on non-truck routes. So I just want them to use the designated truck routes that we have in this city. So that's what this is.
All right. Any questions or comments? All in favor of 9B, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 9B does carry. 9D, which is an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as Zoning Regulations Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 9, Section 9-106, Access Management.
Motion.
Have a motion? And second. It's come to my attention that we have a updated copy of this here at the table. Are you good with adopting this?
Yes.
You do have some other changes too. Do we need to adopt this first?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any objection to adopting the copy of the table?
I've got a question about it though.
All right, there's a question for, who's the question for?
I guess the attorney, did you read over this?
This is a question for you.
Is this all right?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be-
Yes.
that answers-
Okay. Any objections to adopting this copy? No. All right. This updates some dates on this, folks, is what we're adopting here on it. Is there other? Yeah.
The wrong version of the ordinance was attached to this agenda packet. It was an old draft. So this is the exact copy, what you are about to adopt. Was the exact copy that was considered on first reading. It was just a wrong
It's
copy.
changing
in the-
25 to 26
It's entirely different then, but this is exactly what was considered
on
on
first reading. Commissioner Mullally,
Yes.
did you have
So-
some
So
changes?
that is now adopted.
Yes.
Okay,
No
so,
objections.
all right, so this is the same thing that was passed first reading. And since then, the planning commission read it, recommended, some changes. So that's what we're going to do here, and I can just go, they're very simple. If that's okay. In section 2 on the ordinance, this adopted ordinance, section 2. All right, the very last sentence, it's recommended that from PC, that sentence be removed, and it starts with the fourth line up, whenever joint access driveways and/or all the way down to the end of the paragraph, which is, ends with access, period. So it was recommended that that be removed. So I'm going to make the motion that that be removed from the ordinance.
Is there a second to removing this one?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, perfect. We're on the floor by this. So it's whenever joint access driveways and or cross access corridors are provided in accordance with the provisions of this section, it is understood that the new development will not be required to get the adjourning property owner to sign any documents to provide this access. That's motion is to strike that.
Because it's mentioned somewhere else. It's addressed somewhere else that they wouldn't have to do that. So
Redundant.
it's just repetitive apparently. Okay.
Is there any objections to removing this? Okay, without objection, we'll strike that.
All right, section 3, another, something to be removed as recommended by Planning Commission. And it's and this is construction and maintenance. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th line down where it says property lines where a full connection is not yet possible. That should be a period, which ends the sentence. And the next portion where it reads, when both stubs can be connected, it is the financial responsibility of each owner to pay for their property portion of the connection, period. This portion is recommended to be removed.
I'm sorry. You wanting to remove the semicolon, replace it with a period, and then
Yes.
capitalize when?
And so the next sentence would be property shall not be subdivided.
Okay.
So
Yes.
what's after the semicolon currently, all the way down to the period, comes out.
So strike when both stubs can be connected. It is the financial responsibility of each owner to pay for their property portions of the connection.
Correct.
You're wanting to strike that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there a second to striking this? I'm not hearing a second, Commissioner.
I'll second it so we
Okay.
can discuss it. How's
Commissioner.
that?
All right, it's on the floor.
For that one there. So if it's not the owner's responsibility, whose responsibility is it?
Which owner?
No, I mean, yeah, so whose responsibility is it if they both have connections? If it's up to the property line, whose responsibility is it? To me, it should be both the owners take the responsibility to pay for the connection. I don't understand why the planning commission could not see that. I don't know.
Is that what we get some representation?
Representation.
Well, I mean, it wasn't,
This is an orange.
yeah, I know, but wasn't there a discussion
I mean, we can vote on it. I mean, whatever y'all think. I mean, it's just, I just don't understand it, but.
Do you want to hear from someone in particular?
I mean, I think it'd be important to hear from Public Works,
Sure.
especially if that's an opportunity there to be able to give us some insight.
I guess, what's the issue? What was the issue that drove this?
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
The new
I can
permit,
explain what planning
Yeah.
commission said.
So, Ms. Burnett?
the planning commission was just concerned that the city would be dictating which developer pays for it rather than just letting the developers figure out who pays for it. If a new person coming in wants to pay for it, well, then great, but that's up to the private developers to figure out.
But
That's a summary of what they said.
go ahead, go ahead.
Vice Mayor?
Okay, so, and I think this can be a little bit confused. I mean, so if it runs down to, let's say that you got a side of let's say a landowner that is developing his side, and then the other side is not fully, it's just a piece of land, right? And they may have an easement through there. Is it going to be left up to the individual that's not going to be doing anything to his property? That's what I'm trying to understand here. And I think that's where I'm a little confused is, is that expense going to be pushed back on the individual that's not doing anything, that's just paying his taxes on his land? He doesn't care if there's an easement there. That's the way I'm seeing it. So,
Well, at that point, you wouldn't have any pavement crossing since there's no development. So it would be just that new single development that would pay for their stuff at that moment. But then if a new development comes in, then it would be up to the developers to figure out who is paying for it to be connected.
okay. So I'm gonna go back to this. Have we experienced any of this recently? Is there a reason why this was brought up from another project? Can you guys elaborate on this?
Yes, there was a recent issue with Everett Downs with connecting to an adjacent property that an easement was provided, but it wasn't provided correctly. Is that appropriate to say?
Sure.
So that's the catalyst of where this is coming from.
So for example, just so I understand, because I know we got to be vague here or whatever, so we don't hurt anybody's feelings. But so if we're giving an easement to go on to somebody else's property, is that what you're saying? To go on there and then they got to be able to build a road? Because again, I mean, I'm just trying to understand with what the expectations are here.
We're talking about the connection.
Talk about the cost of the connection.
That's what I'm trying to
Otherwise, you're
figure
gonna
out.
have a gap.
Property line.
But I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at the big picture. That's what I'm trying to figure out is because I did hear rumor that we had a challenge there. How is this going to fix the challenge? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, this little piece that we're talking about right now that the motion is concerned about, I don't know that it really relates to what that challenge was. I mean, we're just talking about one little sentence right now versus the
Correct.
whole ordinance.
That's what I'm just trying to figure out. Does this apply to that? That's all I'm asking.
I just think what we should do is whoever builds there first, pave as close to the property line as they can. And I know they can't pave all the way to the property line because that would involve them getting over onto the next property, and that's called trespassing, and people get really sensitive about that, as they probably should. How about they just pave up to 5 feet from the property line where they want to put that cross access? They can deed that property, that little gap there, over to the city. The city can own it. The next person that develops, we can make that a requirement for them to pave on the city's land, and then we deed that little speck back to the person or whichever side wants it. And pavement meets, it's all done, worked out, and we have cross easement. Tell me how I'm crazy.
No, I don't think that's an idea. May I, one of the reasons that it was written is so that people, when looking at our ordinance, if they're in California and they want to come here to build, it's easy to understand. You couldn't even understand the other ordinance.
Yeah.
If this says it's the responsibility of each owner, that makes sense. I mean, you don't have to have a degree to look at that and say, well, I understand that. I think that's where it is. And as far as another developer paying for it, that would be a negotiation between two landowners. They may probably do that anyway, but it would still be the responsibility of that owner. So I don't know. I didn't understand why they didn't like that, but nevertheless.
I just want a straightforward way if we can have cross connectivity and everything doesn't get funneled back on the main road. Commissioner Hefner.
Well, there could be reasons why the existing landowner doesn't want to pay for the connection. Maybe a competing business that's going in on the new development. It's commercial, and he refuses to pay to connect. So he stops the access to go through. So I think that, I don't know, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I can see that being a scenario where the landowner's got a lease on a commercial piece of property, and then the new landowner is got a competing business that's going to drive maybe the existing one out.
Well, taking it out takes care of that. I was just expressing what I felt. I just wanted it to be easy to understand. But the planning commission said take it out. She's saying take it out. So, I mean,
I'm just
take it out.
motioning to, put it out there for discussion. So I do have a question as far as Everett Downs. So the way I understand this is being removed because it removes the city from having to, the city can't really enforce the two property owners to, how to pay for it. So it just removes the city. That's how I understand it. So talking about Everett Downs, I know the city was involved. So what was the city's role in that deal?
The city's role was more of a facilitator more than anything. That was an agreement that just had to be worked out between two property owners. Because of I think it was two different PUDs that had conditions requiring that cross connection. One owner wanted it more than the other, to put it lightly.
One owner was required to want it more than the other.
Both owners were required to want it.
Yes.
But whose responsibility was it to make sure that it was enforced initially on the first PUD that came there and it be recorded on the plat that easement would go up to the line?
The issue wasn't the easement going to the line, it was how the easement was recorded.
Okay, so whose responsibility was that to make sure it was recorded correctly?
That's a great question. Yeah, either
So-
the city attorney at the time, the director of public works at the time.
Well,
I can answer.
okay.
Ms. Burnett.
Speaking generally, it's planning department's job. However, in this specific case, the scenario you're referencing, the other PUD, for lack of a better word, essentially went behind the city's back and filed something new with the Register of Deeds office that basically removed the cross access. And we don't get notified about that. So
How can they do that if it's a PUD inside the city limits?
well, I mean, you can pretty much file whatever you want with the Register of Deeds office, and we don't get like a, hey, City of Mount Juliet, just so you know this happened. It's filed, so then that's the document that the rest of that PUD started working under. Not Everett Downs, I'm talking about the
I
other.
understand. But didn't we have inspections and we don't look at, and look at the construction, the building, that was a office building down there, and I'm trying to think what it's called on the right. So are you saying it was after the fact that happened? So we
Yes.
had approved everything and then they
Yes.
go do that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a shame. Just like it was down there on Lebanon Road when they moved that cemetery, when we voted the planning years ago, and that cemetery was supposed to be there, and then they did something like that behind their back and moved that cemetery. So I guess it's very close to that.
I think this is an important issue for us to get right. I'm going to make a motion that we defer this and hold a workshop to go over these details before we vote on this for second reading. And I'll make the motion to defer this until the next available time slot before a city commission that we can have a workshop to go over this. Got a motion and second. Any discussion on deferral? All in favor of deferral, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? This item is going to be deferred for a workshop. You're staying on this deferral? Okay. So it'd be a vote of 4 in favor, 1 abstention on the deferral. Is there any objection to, for the consideration of 9H, 9I, J, and K together? Hearing none, I'll read all 4 of those. 9H, which is a resolution adopting a plan of services for the property known as the Keelan property located at 3971 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.06 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 9I, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 5.21 acres of property at 3971 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.06, the property being located within the city's urban growth boundary. And 9J, which is a resolution and memorandum of ordinance relative to the annexation of 3971 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.06. 9K, which is an ordinance to rezone the property located at 3971 Beckwith Road, approximately 5.21 acres, map 78, parcel 21, from Wilson County R1 to CI commercial interchange. Those four items. Is there a motion for the 4? Motion and a second, I heard. So the 4 are on the table. I got an unusual email about the 4 properties, and it was referencing some pending litigation between the properties and Wilson County. I'd asked the city manager to look into it. Can you help me out here? There's current pending litigation with the county over these. Is it litigation or is it codes effort? What was exactly found? Yes.
Yes, sir. Mayor. Yes, sir. And I'll defer to the city attorney if I misspeak, but from understanding, I got the email as well. And we reached out to the county. It's been an ongoing issue, I think, for about 3 years or better, I believe. And the county does have some current litigation against the county in regards to codes. And so, I mean, we just found that out literally over the weekend, or I can't remember when the email came through, but I'll defer to the city attorney for any additional details I may be omitting.
Do you have any additional additional details?
I haven't read the actual complaint or the lawsuit, so I don't know the exact details. But yes, there is pending litigation. I think it was filed in 2022, filed by the county attorney for basically violation of zoning, of county zoning.
Okay.
I believe it relates to maybe a business they were conducting on the property that they are not zoned for.
Commissioner Mullally.
Yeah, I got the email too. Previously, the owner, and I know he's here, according to the email, there was a business on the property, a dumpster disposal business, which until a few months ago, there's a new business now, a portable toilet and sewage disposal service on the property. It is used for storage service and to maintain the outdoor portable toilets, service vehicles, and sewage waste disposable pump haul trucks. So the effort by the county to enforce the zoning, they were forced to bring a civil suit in 2022. And so this is the part that concerns me, if true. To annex this into the city, annex and rezone will only serve to reset the clock for someone, for this owner in the pending litigation. And it says, if true, since the annexation would also result in dismissal of the civil case, as the county would no longer have standing. So that's concerning to me, if true. So I don't know really if if all of this is true, that the city wants to take that on, perhaps the owner could take off and, come up and address.
Okay, a question for attorney, and there was reference to standing in this situation. Would this potentially change the county's standing with any pending litigation?
Likely the county would not have standing anymore because it would not be within their zoning jurisdiction. So they would have no reason to enforce it since it would now come under our purview.
Okay.
So the lawsuit would likely just disappear, be dismissed.
Sorry, sir. Sir, just a moment, please. Just trying to think what the next step should be here. Let me do this. You can get your name and address for the record.
Chad Keelan, 3971 Beckwith.
Okay. All right. And what do you have to add, sir?
So I've never had a business operate there. I bought that property several years ago. It was during the tornado time. I bought it and I cleaned it up, and I built a shop there to store all my toys because, like a lot of people in Mount Juliet, I now live in an HOA. So I have Jackson Hill's house, and they don't appreciate me keeping a skid steer and a boat and everything else in my driveway. So I kept it out there, and occasionally I would get shipments of different material in, and I would have it there because it was large enough to turn semis around in. So, but I've never had a business registered there. I don't keep anything to run a business there. I don't have employees there. I don't have anything. It's just an overflow of stuff that I would get in occasionally. We run our business out of Lebanon and off of 10955 Lebanon Road. And it's just always been this place that we ride dirt bikes and keep extra stuff. So my intentions are not to run that. This would have been settled a long time ago. Yancey's my attorney. But because we were going through all this, the county didn't want to make a ruling to change the zoning there to stop all the, any discussions about whether or not I was using it for R1 versus C1. Because it was in the growth plan of the city, Brashears just kind of sat on his hands and said, well, we're going to push it to the city. So we came to the city, and that's when we started moving this annexation. I was like, okay, well, we'll just annex in. Early on, I intended on building a house back there, but with all the growth, Matt Wilson's property right next to mine got annexed in. It's now C1. Everybody else has gone into commercial there. I don't want to be the only one that builds a new house in the back of what's going to be an annexed area for the city and become commercial. So Yancey the only reason this thing kept going is because we it's kicked the can for any better words to be used. And the county said, well, okay, well, if they're going to actually annex you with C1, then there's no point in us pushing further. And that's what that email was about. That was us initiating them to say, yes, that we are in the process of trying to get annexed for C1 there. So that's pretty much where we're sitting.
All right.
And I have no intentions to use that property for anything outside of that C1 zoning.
Are there outdoor toilets?
A new shipment that we just brought up from Georgia on the back of a F450 because I didn't want to park it in my driveway over the week. So yes, there's 6 of them on the back of it, but they're all going to Nashville. I have no intention to keep porta johns out there. And I don't own a garbage business anymore. I did sell it. So there's no roll-off dumpsters. There were some dumpsters out there, but there was no ordinance saying anything about dumpsters in anybody's property. So we didn't even know we were in violation for keeping dumpsters there.
Okay.
So that's what we got. Thank you.
That does make sense. Question for our city attorney is, does this need to be looked at any further, or so I'm thinking about a deferral for a meeting or so just to look at this since it just came up.
If the board wishes to defer, I'm happy to get with the county attorney and confirm that that's all accurate and that hasn't been ongoing zoning issues.
I would give it a second if you motioned for a deferral.
I'll motion for a deferral. Yeah.
Second.
Motion to next meeting. 30 days?
I would maybe suggest 30 days because sometimes the county attorney is difficult to pin down.
It's on record now. 30 days. 30 days, you good with that?
What about the first meeting in March? Would that give enough time to find out about this lawsuit and maybe go out and check out the land? Has zoning even checked it out? You have? What's your feedback on it?
Doesn't sound like you have necessarily immediate plans. Yeah. Well, you would have to skip one regardless. That's the,
I don't need until March.
You don't need till March. Okay, 30 days.
30 days.
Okay.
Got a motion for deferral for 30 days for 9H, I, J, and K. Is there any questions or comments on the advisement of deferral? All right, all in favor of deferral, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's deferred for 30 days. Next item on the agenda is 9. Well, you can do it this way. Any objections to considering 9L, M, N, O together? Not hearing any, I'll read the 4 for the record. 9L, which is a resolution adopting a plan of services for the property known as the Courtyards at McFarland, property located at 5025 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 77, parcel 1 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 9M, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 39.34 acres, property located at 5025 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 77, parcel 1 and 1.03, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 9M, which is a resolution in memorandum of ordinance relative to the annexation of 5025 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 77, parcel 1, and 9O, which is an ordinance to rezone approximately 39.34 acres of property at 5025 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 77, parcel 1, and 1.03 from Wilson County R1 to CMU PUD, and to adopt a preliminary master development plan for the Courtyards at McFarland. Have a motion? Motion is second. These 4 items are on the table for discussion. And I can start off. This is a question for John under planning and zoning. Item 32 under that, which has been struck out since the first meeting, the commercial component of the PUD shall be completed before the issuance of the 75th residential certificate of occupancy. That language has been replaced with the commercial building shells shall be constructed to a weatherproof state sans final interior build out prior to the issuance of the final residential certificate of occupancy. Now, we defined what we would consider complete, but we also moved the goal from the 75th to the final.
Yes. Okay. May I?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this was my first pass at this after what we talked about at the last meeting. Since I've written this was my pass while the applicant was discussing amongst themselves what they thought of this. They have since, I put something in here for a placeholder because this agenda had to go out before they had followed up with me.
Okay.
But I have an email with some changes. I could read those to you, or maybe the applicant could come up and talk about it, whatever you would prefer.
What's your suggestion?
I could read them. I got the email in front of me here. To be completed by the issuance of the 75th, this is what the applicants proposed, kind of where we met here.
Okay.
To be completed by the issuance of the 75th residential certificate of occupancy. Bullet 1, phase 1, commercial building 5,500 square feet or greater shall be constructed and ready to lease and not and all curb cuts, sidewalks constructed along the commercial property frontage on Old Lebanon Dirt Road. So basically 5,500 square feet of the commercial, which I forget the total amount here is.
Excuse me, John.
Significantly more.
I appreciate your faith in me, but if you have that in that language in an email, if you would just forward that right to me, that would help out a lot.
That'd be great. The applicant can explain, they're kind of going to break the commercial on the plan into a couple different phases.
Okay.
And so that was the first bullet point. Bullet point 2, remaining phase is graded to pad ready with stubbed utilities and full construction of the retention pond completed. And I'll forward it over to you.
Perfect. All right. We have someone with the development to comment on this.
Yes, sir. Jay Easter here with Epcon Development Group. Happy to answer any of your questions.
I'm still waiting on my inbox to refresh.
I'll gladly wait.
Here we go. All right. What John has got is to be completed by the issuance of the 75th residential certificate of occupancy. So we've still got the 75. Phase 1, one commercial building, 5,500 square feet or greater shall be constructed and ready to lease, and all curb cuts, sidewalks, construction along the commercial property frontage on Old Lebanon Dirt Road. And then the second item is the remaining phases graded to pad ready with stubbed utilities and full construction of the retention pond complete.
Yes, sir.
Is that agreed upon, or is this?
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
following the
And I forwarded this to the rest of the board here, so if they've got their phones, they can actually read what was sent.
Okay. As you asked us to, we had a meeting with staff. We had gotten John's recommendation for the final certificate of occupancy that all buildings should be complete. We went back and revisited the commercial site, trying to see how it would realistically phase out. Sent that to John, had a Teams meeting with John, talked through various options with him, and landed on this one that the development group could agree upon and staff could agree upon, and put together this exhibit to help illustrate how we thought the project would phase out from the commercial component side, and work through the condition with John.
Okay. I'm very appreciative that we come to an agreement on what complete means, because I don't know that we were on the same page at the last meeting. I think I'm good with the first point on that. Just speaking for myself, phase 1, that those be completed by that. But then, so the remaining phase, grade 2 pound pad ready with the stubbed utilities and full construction of the retention pond. Remaining phases. I gotta see what your phase lines are.
Okay. Do you have the exhibit? I have printed copies. If you don't need them.
This.
No, sir. This. It should have been. Did you forward the exhibit, John?
I did. I'm going to forward to it. I'll send it again. Back there.
I'm happy to. I have some I can pass out if that's helpful.
Is it part of the packet, John?
Now, he had an additional one he wanted to show up here.
Okay.
Did I have enough?
Okay. I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
the remaining, part two, remaining phases graded to pad ready with stub utilities and full construction of the retention pond completed. Are you not going to need the retention pond for the residential portions?
Yes, we're going to build the entire retention pond with the first phase of the residential. It serves the commercial side as well.
Okay. So what role does having the retention pond in part two add if you've already got to build it for the residential?
We were just making a statement of what all was happening with the commercial and residential and what would be in place.
But it's gonna be, because the way this is written, you're gonna need it before phase one anyway to ever get to that 75th CO, correct?
Yes, we
Okay.
we will build it, and it's going to serve both commercial and residential.
All right. So by the 75th CO, you would have phase one, which is the 5,500 square foot building. And then the remaining phases will be graded to pad ready with stub utilities.
Yes, sir.
And, okay. And the full construction of the retention pond is almost redundant, but
Yeah.
so the second part is remaining phases graded to pad ready with stub utilities. John, are you reading that as contingent upon the 75th CO for part two? Okay. So then essentially we're saying at the 75th CO, phase one will be complete. And what you've got identified as 2, 3, and 4 will just be pad ready.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
It's all got to be done by the 75th CO. Right. There's no past pad ready. Correct, John? After there's no trigger for phases 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Anyone else questions about this? What's your question, sir? You're recognized.
Thank you. And again, like when this thing first came, because I know there was a discussion there for the buffer between the residential, I guess it'd be right there where, if we're looking at the map right now, where the open space is for the first pink house.
Yes, sir.
So between that and then the alleyway, just wanted to make sure the staff, just to see about that, like that buffer, was that discussed? And then also the validation for, because again, I was just going back on my notes, the validation with the first responders. Do we get those cleared up? And I guess that's going to be, again, making sure the alleyways for the first responders get through there. I know that was a discussion initially when this first project came through there. So I'm going to ask staff if that's some confirmation there for the first responders, and then also the buffer between the open space where that first pink lot is, and then where the commercial start, or I guess where the that alleyway is. So
Okay.
just want to get that validation there from staff if that was covered.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the fire marshal did review these plans prior to it coming to planning, and they had no real concerns. The turning radii to get onto the alleys is something we'll handle at construction drawings. They'll provide us a turning template and show that it works.
Was there any, because I'm just trying to think of, like that first residential lot right there. And then you got the alleyway. Because again, I'm just trying to think about that buffer there. You know what I mean? For the residential. Is it gonna be like a like a fence line there, or how's that gonna transition?
Which lot are we talking about?
So you see the open space, the alleyway, like the first lot right there next to the cemetery. So you got that first pink lot up there at the alleyway.
Okay. Yes, sir. So that's going to be a D3 landscape buffer that runs along the backside of all of those pink lots all the way up through there.
Correct. But then you got the alleyway right there next to that residential. So it was just, again, if you look at the other lots over there, you got a green buffer and you don't have that right there for those two lots. So, like that first lot and the one across the street.
Oh, that the lot is touching the alley?
Correct. And I'm just asking because again, not having that green space there, just didn't know if that was considered.
No, we didn't really consider a green space there because just like the two lots across the street, that home should be structured so that there's access to the garage from the alley instead of access onto the public road.
So it'd be side entrance
Yes, sir.
for both of those?
For the two that are on the same side as the amenity, those will be side
Okay.
entrance.
Okay, that
And
makes sense.
We try to accommodate anywhere that there is an alley access to a residential lot that's utilized for the access instead of the road in front of it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Roletti?
Is this gated?
No, ma'am.
All right. Why on the right side, that road that leads in, that's a public road? Why is there a public road leading into a private area?
Yeah, that road is going to act as a connection between Division and Old Lebanon Dirt Road. There's a public good in having that connection.
Now, I'm not talking about the main one that connects both. I'm talking about the one on the far right.
Oh, that's a great question. That should become private.
That should be private. All right, what do we need to do to adopt that into the plan or change the plan? What do we need to do?
I mean,
The access furthest east shall be private.
perfect.
Is that a second?
Second.
Okay.
All right, now, this is a
Can I
senior,
ask for
yeah.
clarification? Are we talking about we were asked to make the Central Road private, that's labeled private at the planning commission level.
Okay.
And so we have the public road from East Division down to Old Lebanon Dirt Road. So is the road?
That's public.
Sorry?
That's public.
That's
Okay.
public.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking about the second
Mhm.
entrance off of Old Lebanon. Okay,
Yeah, the short
Yes.
one that's labeled public.
correct.
It's a short, public right away takes up the whole road.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I understood where we were talking.
Okay, and
So I
this,
got my directions backwards.
this is a senior community, 55 and up.
Yes, ma'am.
And is that written in the plans? Do we need to adopt that in, or is it already adopted in the plans?
It's adopted in the plans, and there's a condition of approval about HOPA, that this development will follow the HOPA regulations that restrict it to 55 plus and up.
Okay, and just for the public, this is a mixed use. It is senior. Senior communities put less traffic on the roads, and there's no burden on the school system. So just throwing that out there. That's all I have.
Any questions or discussion on the advisability of changing that shorter entrance on the east side to a private street? All right. All in favor of changing the eastmost entrance on Old Lebanon Dirt Road to a private street, please signify by saying aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries. So we're on once amended. All right. I'm going to go back to what John read us, which is phase one. The commercial buildings of 5,500 square feet or greater shall be constructed and ready to lease, and all curb cut sidewalk construction along the commercial property frontage on Old Lebanon Road, Old Lebanon Dirt Road. The remaining phases, part two, remaining phases graded to pad ready with stub utilities and construction of retention pond. So it's your intention to complete all of the residential phase one and to leave phase two, 3, and 4 just pad ready?
The intent is to have phase one constructed and ready to lease by the 75th occupancy permit. And that 2, 3, and 4 by the 75th occupancy permit would be graded to pad ready.
Okay. And when will they be completed?
As phase one leases out, we will move on to subsequent buildings, just like in a residential development.
Is everybody okay with that? Commissioner Hefner.
2 cents is, I mean, I think what the applicant's struggling with, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is it's hard. It's going to be hard to lease these. I think we've already heard in previous meetings on this project that you're going to have a hard time leasing these spaces out. So I don't want to speak for you, but
No,
this is
I
what
mean,
I've heard.
that's, we're committing to building the first one. If we build the first one and it goes off like gangbusters, we'll move straight through the rest of them. But if it stalls, then the market will dictate when it's ready to be constructed and to be leased.
Or you build the buildings and then you wait.
And
We've got empty buildings
correct.
that are vacant, that are
And
unoccupied.
by doing it this way, it leaves some flexibility. As far as how we tried to, is how we phased it out, moving across the front of the commercial with phases 2 and then 3, and leaving, 4 is the last because it's the largest part. There may be a single user that wants to come in with a larger building, and he has the flexibility to come back and amend this, show a larger building, and show how it configures and works into the program.
And I'm guessing you're not going to wait. You're probably going to start marketing this commercial property.
As soon as we close on the property.
So I mean, I understand the position the man's in. I understand it completely. You want to build something because now you're limiting yourself to the building you just built and finding a tenant
that will fit in it.
that will fit in it versus keeping it pad ready and finding a tenant that will build whatever structure that they're looking to build. So I understand the phasing and understand the challenges that you're going to run into by putting shells on top of that pad.
So just to confirm, you're saying you would get it pad ready with the utilities stubbed out,
Correct.
but then you might come back and ask for a bigger building after that.
Well, the site
If the market was to dictate somebody wanted something.
So we will build the first one, and we will grade out the remaining phases so that they are perched and pad ready with utility stubbed. And so that still gives us the flexibility if somebody comes in and with a phase 2 that needs bigger building than what we're showing there, or a combination of phases 2 and 3 into one building, or a combination of all 3 phases in one building. It's not so far down the development line that it can happen very easily. Versus if we have shells and paving and everything else down, that limits us and limits the city's flexibility and our flexibility to market it.
Commissioner Giles?
That would have to come back as an amendment, wouldn't it?
If it deviates from what's approved in the PUD, yeah.
So they would have to come back.
And come, yeah. Well, to keep us moving along, I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to move that to be completed by the issuance of the 75th residential certificate of occupancy, phase 1, the commercial building, 5,500 square feet or greater, shall be constructed and ready to lease, and allow curb cuts, sidewalk construction along the commercial property frontage on Old Lebanon Dirt Road. Part 2, the remaining phases be graded to pad ready with stub utilities. That's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any questions, comments, or discussion on that? All right. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. So we're there.
Thank you.
Phase 1 is nailed down, but I'm still not.
No.
I wanted to get us something to work from. So 2, 3, and 4. I mean, this is my struggle on these things, and I've seen similar examples where we approved residential plows ahead, the commercial just hangs there. We call it commercial mixed use, and we just get the mixed use and not so much the C. And Commissioner Giles.
Yeah, so, and I may have missed this somewhere, Jay, when is the cemetery fence completed and the walkway? Isn't there supposed to be a walkway from that parking up to that cemetery?
Yes, sir.
When is that supposed to be completed?
That's a great question. We hadn't thought through that one yet. It could be, we could have the fence completed and provide permanent access to it at phase one.
Okay, I'll make a motion to add that into phase one.
Can you repeat that motion, sir?
That by the completion of phase one, they will have a fence around the cemetery. They will have a walkway to it, which is paved as per our guidelines. And that's already, and I'm asking this question now, that parking lot's already paved, correct?
The parking lot in phase one will be paved.
Sure.
And we'll provide an access to the cemetery. The access may change as it develops, but there will always have to be a permanent, a paved access maintained for that cemetery.
So the word permanent needs to go in that motion. And again, this is discussion. I assume that there will be a temporary access to that cemetery during construction, whether it's one
Yes, sir.
prior to one, for people whoever their relatives are buried in
Yeah,
there.
that's one of the stipulations on the cemetery, on the property.
Okay, okay.
So as part of phase one, well, with the completion of phase one, a requirement be added that there be a paved walkway to the cemetery and the fence completed.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that paved walkway is, how wide is that sidewalk? 6? What is our restrictions? What is our codes on that?
We don't actually have a code stipulating off-street sidewalk widths. As long as it's a sidewalk and not a path, it can be down to 5. But 5 or 6 would be most typical.
Yeah, I'll add on that no less than 5 on that motion. You agree with that? Thank you, Todd.
Yes, sir,
Are you
we
agree?
agree with
Okay.
Who seconded? It was Commissioner Malay. Okay. All right, we have as part of phase one to complete a paved walkway to the cemetery with no less than 5 feet and the completion of the fence. Good. All right. Any discussions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay. Commissioner Mullally, you're recognized.
Question on the sidewalk system. It's kind of hard to tell on here, but I see it. It goes on along both sides of the public road connecting East Division and Lebanon Dirt Road. I see them along the mid-private road within the residential area. I see a walkway around the retention pond. Is the connection so the residents can walk to the commercial? Am I looking at that on the back side of the retention pond in the corner of the southeast corner of phase 3?
Yes, ma'am.
That's where it connects. And that's the only place it connects.
That's the only place that, yes, it wraps around. They can either come down the public road and follow Lebanon Dirt Road. They can walk around the pond and connect into the sidewalk system that runs along the parking in front of all those businesses.
Okay. It's just hard with these
The phase
lines
yeah,
drawn.
the-
It's
yeah,
hard to see all the
Yeah,
sidewalks.
the phase
Okay.
lines are covering it up.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, anybody got anything else? Do you have anything, sir, for us?
No, sir, I'm good. I'm here to.
All right, you're good. All right. All in favor of the ordinances, one twice amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. but it does pass second
Yes,
reading,
sir.
so you're good to go. Beautiful project. I just couldn't get comfortable with the 2, 3, and 4, but
I understand. We thank you for your help.
thank you. Okay. If there's no objection, I'd like to take a 10-minute recess. We've been up here for about a couple hours now. Hearing none, we'll reconvene at 8:26.
get a whole meeting over then. We have a quorum. We no
Um,
longer have a quorum.
I'll call the meeting of the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners back to order. So I was counting up. All right, we're under new business. The first item is 10C, an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as Zoning Regulations Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 5, Section 5104, 3 variable lot residential developments. Is there a motion? Okay, the item's on the table. Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor of 10C, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That does, excuse me, that does pass. And it was so meaningful, I guess it choked me up, but it passed on first reading. 10D, an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, by adopted October 8, 2001, as amended by amending Article 8 Overlay Districts, Section 82075 Open Space Requirements. Motion is second. Any questions on 10D? Ms. Mullally?
I see this as being a positive and a negative. The positive would be if we reduce lot sizes so we have more open spaces, so naturally makes sense to increase the open space to 20% because you would have more open space. On a negative side, it could be a negative because if the developer has less lots because of more open space, they may not can make the numbers work. So that could end up being a negative. So I see both sides of it.
Commissioner, can I add something there?
Yeah.
I had reached out to John about this, and my thoughts on that was, yes, we're reducing the minimum lot size. So this was a good opportunity to increase our open space on this. It's one of the things I hear about a lot is, preservation of open space. So that was one of the elements on it. The good thing about open space is there's no infrastructure in it. So if we got reduced size lots, there's more encouragement to have more open space in this, which is less that we would have to maintain in the future. And one thing I see with the way our development is, some current code is much less than what we're asking for here. So I think it kind of incentivizes people to go out and develop areas of the lots, which probably should naturally be open space, through blasting and all kinds of other stuff on here that really alarms people. So I thought this is a way, is like, instead of trying to chase every square inch of the lot, let's preserve some of that open space on it. And hopefully it will reduce in less blasting as we move forward as well by granting more open space. And hopefully that can be a good steady spot there that we can land on with the reduced lot size requirements. Commissioner Hefner, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, well, I agree with you. I don't think it's if, it will definitely have an impact, negative impact. We have that voluntary contribution right away that's going to drop. I understand we're reducing the lot sizes, but you're going from 7% to 20%. So you're going to be eliminating a lot of potential for houses to be built there, which is going to put a significant strain on the financials for a developer to make the numbers work. Ultimately, it's going to end up on the real estate market and whether or not they can sell those lots and those houses for the prices that they're going to have to demand in order to make the project worthy. And with the real estate market in a bit of a flux right now, I don't know, that's a gamble that a lot of developers are going to be willing to take. So you talking about my moratorium coming up right here, this is going to be your moratorium. Increasing green space from 7% to 20%, you're going to start seeing some developers pull out of the city of Mount Juliet. So that's my 2 cents. I could be wrong. Hopefully the reduction in lot sizes, which I did support, is going to make up for it. Only time will tell. So I'm against this. I think it's going to have a pretty significant impact on developers trying to make the numbers work. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Commissioner Mullally.
Is there any discussion, feedback on an alternative other than 20%, jumping from 7% to 20%?
I could go with 19.
To 19?
Commissioner Hefner.
I got a suggestion. I mean, these are all associated with PUDs. So why don't we take a look at the project and determine if the property is conducive to 20%. We have one. We have several of them right now. Actually, I think there was one on the agenda tonight where the green space was over 20. I think it was the one we just passed was over 22 or 23%. So I think it depends on the land. I think it depends on the contour of the land. As far as eliminating blasting, we don't really know that yet. The contours and engineering all dictate where blasting needs to happen to satisfy your cut and fills. So I don't know that this is going to eliminate blasting per se, but I'd say we control it at the PUD level and let the project let us take a look at the project and see the contours of the land to see if I should just do it one by one and just run it through the PUD process.
I think that's a good potential suggestion. Question for John. If we set this at 20% or whatever number we set this as, they can still get a variance. Thank you. I was going, they can still get a variance. So if we set the bar high, we could work down just as easily as we could work up. And that's kind of the approach I think we did with the 100% masonry and stone, was set the bar high and negotiate down instead of trying to negotiate up. Commissioner Mullally.
So one question, if we leave the individual property up to the PUD process and there's still a 7% basis, the developers pretty much is going to fill all that area. So if we don't have something to go by, can we really work it out at the PUD process if the existing remains at 7%? Like, can we, if it's 77%, can we, the board, say, all right, we want 15% or whatever?
Yes, sir.
I would have to defer to legal on that, but I imagine you couldn't ask for more than what's in the code. I could be completely wrong though.
Ms. Burnett.
My recommendation would be to set a standard and work variances backwards rather than having them increase it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Hefner, you recognized?
I think the pro formas are going to be set based on what the regulations and the ordinance spell out. Pro formas are going to be based on those numbers, and to ask for a variance is, we don't, they're not going to know if that's going to happen or not. That's usually a little bit of a crapshoot. So I wouldn't be opposed to increasing it to 10% as opposed to 20%, and then letting it kind of flow through the PUD process. We can always restrict it if it's again, it could come through staff's recommendation. It could come through planning as an increase in the green space. That can always go through planning, can make those recommendations to the board. John's nodding his head yes.
Is that correct though? I don't know if we could force somebody to do more than the minimum in the code though. But you could go the other way. In every PUD, residential PUD, they're a little bit different in how they approach amenities. Some are highly amenitized, and then other ones, we might get a dog park or a walking trail only, and it depends on the size of the PUD. Now with PUDs, you're limited on you have to have a certain base acreage. So most of the PUDs we see through here are RS20. That's a 10-acre minimum. So you're talking 20% of 10 acres, or whatever the number ends up being. And then, like I said, there's variability on how much amenities go in. Some are highly amenitized, some not so much. Some have topographical issues that leave a lot of open space. I like the idea of having it discussable at a PUD level, see what direction it needs to go.
Commissioner Mullally.
I agree with Commissioner Hefter, but then on the flip side of that, I wouldn't want to be caught like we couldn't increase it if it states 7%. I think we would have a hard time there. So I do think the 20 might be a bit much, and I do think it will have a negative effect on the development. What if we compromise 15%?
So a motion to amend from 20% to 15%.
Yes,
Got a second?
yes. And by the way, this is for single family, right? Because multifamily is already at 20%. Correct. Okay.
All right. Any questions or comments on the advisement of 15%? All in favor of reducing it from 20% to 15%, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. I believe that did get 3 votes. Okay, so we're on the ordinance as once amended at 15%. Any other discussions? All right. All in favor of the ordinance as once amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So that does pass 4-1. The next item on the agenda is 10E, an ordinance to rezone the property at 13135 Lebanon Road, approximately 0.35 acres, map 53K, parcel 27, from RS40 low density residential to CRC commercial retail center.
Motion.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second for 10E? Okay, any questions or comments? Commissioner Hefner, you're recognized.
Question, did the public hearing, we haven't passed that yet, I don't believe so, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Did the public notice go out to the residents on this rezone that are around this property
John, question maybe?
before the planning commission?
I am not positive. It would have gone out, whatever the rules are as they exist now, isn't that before second hearing at BOC?
Correct.
I don't think this got out. This wouldn't have, this has been in the pipeline for a minute, so I don't think we would have put it out sooner,
This is first reading.
Is it?
So the people that live around this property don't even really know it's
first reading.
So the folks around this, is safe to say, have no idea this is going on.
For now.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm not positive. I'm not hugely involved in the public notice process at the moment.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. It's on Lebanon Road.
There are very few errors with it, though, usually. So,
But I mean, to your question, Commissioner, if I may here,
Sure.
I think what he wants to get to is they get notice before we consider it
They
on
will,
first
yeah.
reading. But if we deferred it tonight, is there any way to have the applicant, by our current standards, give that notice?
oh boy, I don't know.
Because it's in before the
Yeah.
change.
Is it 21 days? I have to look at the chart again. I don't remember.
It would have to. And the way the new regulation is, it's 15 days prior to the planning commission. So it would have to go back to the planning commission.
Yeah. Although they submitted before we did that, so they wouldn't be subject to that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So as long as they're meeting, whatever the standard protocol we had before that amendment that's proposed, that's what this would be treated on here, or processed under.
I would say this to your point, in a perfect world, if we could accomplish that, I just don't know how we can get to there. But that still wouldn't require the notice to go out.
I mean, it has to get assigned and noticed, yeah. It might even be out there. I don't know. I drive by it every day. I don't even.
Ms. Burnett,
All of that will just happen before second reading, so they would likely have to skip a meeting and then we would see it again.
That's what I was under the impression. Yeah, because this wouldn't be affected by that amendment that we
No.
talked about.
Okay. All right. That's a shame, but I get it. It's a timing thing.
is there any other questions or comments on 10E? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So 10E does pass. 10F, an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for Bender's Cove planned unit development located at 771 Bender's Ferry Road, map 49, parcel 69, 69.02, 69.03, and 69.09 in the city of Mount Juliet.
Second.
Motion second, the items on the floor. Commissioner O'Leary, you're recognized.
So when the board approved this project, we approved that the road improvements on Bender's Ferry, including the turn lanes, would be completed before the first CO. So since then, there's a trigger in there in the ordinance where if it goes beyond 120 days, it kicks it to the 25th, which happened. So now they are wanting to extend the CO trigger to 75 because they've encountered some gas line problem or something. And then the planning gave a positive recommendation at 50%, 50 COs. And I know things happen, things happen all the time, but when we approved this, the developer agreed. So the developer also knows that things happen, and yet they still agreed to it. So I'm not going to support the extension of the trigger up to 50 or anything else because we approve those improvements. Those people that live up there are having a hard time and they're seeing that stalled. So I want what we voted for. I want those, and I know these things happen and it costs you money. I understand that, but I want to see the road done. So I'm not going to support it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, is there any representation here for this project? Because I'd like to be able to get something on record just to know what the delays are. I think that's important to know. So if you name, address, and what's the delay?
Yeah, Chris Cowan, Meritage Homes. The address is 2555 Meridian Boulevard, Franklin. So I don't know if you've been through there on Bender's Ferry. We have, I think it's about 3,000 feet total is the total widening on the property. We probably have about 1,500 of it widened now and are working on the very south end where all the turn lane additions will happen at the Lebanon Road intersection. We agree. We want the road finished too. This is not an attempt to delay it in any manner. We're, I guess, sort of past the point of no return on our side, if you will. We knew Piedmont was there. We just didn't. There's a conflict between some of our storm sewer and some of their stuff. Piedmont, if I could move it ourselves, and we have Piedmont won't let us touch their gas mains, so we're totally at their mercy on their timing. When we came to Planning Commission in December, they told us they were going to start in December. Well, now we're January 12th, and they're telling us they're going to start on January 19th. Quite honestly, when they start, I don't really have a way to force them to do anything. We're still active on the side. Nobody's not trying to demobilize or anything like that. Feel like we'll have the south end at Lebanon Road, which will have all the new turn lane and the new turning movements, which I think is probably the biggest advantage of the overall widening project. Sometime have that paved in end of January, mid-February. So it's really just this missing tooth in the middle that Piedmont has control of. We can't really do anything until they get out of the way. And then we probably have 60 days of work behind them once they do relocate, because we've got to go do our stuff. So that's the reason for it. And that's, in addition, I guess, the reason for, we were comfortable with what Planning Commission did in December. And then now with Piedmont sort of pushing us another month, that's why we'd like to go back to the original request.
Now,
25. Oh, as far as actual on the project, they'll start happening in January here. So right now, I think maybe we have, it's just model homes that have been CO'd, so maybe 3.
So, again, I mean, because I know me and you have spoken about this. Right now, the timeline, you're saying 60 days right after the completion of this. So that way, the road improvements are still going to be able to get accomplished, right?
Yes, I foresee if Piedmont shows up, let's just round it to the 1st of February. They're saying they're 45 to 60 days. So that gets us to April where we get the job back. And then we have probably 60 or maybe even 90 days there. And what I'm talking would be the full overlay, everything, all the striping and everything that's along with it. So I still feel like we're finished in July, August, if Piedmont shows up here and, sometime by the end of the month.
So how long is Piedmont projected to get this done? Did they give you a timeline on how many days, weeks, what?
They haven't, that's one thing, haven't been able to get them to commit on a total duration right now. My personal experience, I think it's 45 to 60 days by the time they get through, get out of our way where we can come in right behind and do the storm sewer work that we need to do, finish the grading, and then, start the actual curb and gutter and paving.
And how many months are you guys out on the lots, for the 75 lots? What's your projected date on that?
The COs. We will, we've got a builder partner in there. So probably total between the two of us, we will close or projected to close between the combination. So 6 to 8 a month would be kind of the pace. So at that pace, we'll just forget about the handful of COs that have already been issued on the models. We've got closing set up for January, and then they'll run from there kind of at that pace. So I don't think you're seeing 75 feet COs as late summer, early fall, which I think right now is probably the timing of the completion of the total widening.
Yeah, I mean, I see the dilemma. I mean, the only concern that I've got is that, again, all those residents and all the other side of things. So is there a way to meet in the middle and hit the 50? And then if you got to come back, let's just say Piedmont doesn't come back, and then we got to push it back out a little bit further. What are your thoughts there? I mean, I'd like to say June would be great to have that road completed for these residents before we really get in the hot heavy of the summertime. That road's going to get really busy when school's out, as it already is with school in. So
sure. Do you think when we asked for the 50, part of that was to try and avoid coming back to where, for all of us, not having to deal with it. We don't, again, we're so far into the thing now, there's no reason for us to slow play it as soon as they're out of the way. I mean, for us, it's equal as mess on the traffic because it's a marketing. It's hard to get in and out of our project right now, and that makes it difficult to sell. I'm not sure which is the best. Could we tie it to a date? Is that if we said it's June or ask for July and just say at that point in time there's no more COs issued after that until it's complete?
So you're saying like July 1st?
That would take I would ask for July 31st.
So that's where we started off at, where you were ending back up. My only concern is that we roll into the fall. And
Yeah,
that's where
I-
you kind of hitting with the like the COs. That's my concern there.
I couldn't, again, with no way to push Piedmont.
I know.
If they don't show, I can't finish it anyways. So
Yeah.
I guess that would be the meltdown scenario.
I mean, 6 months. I mean, you think about it, like you just said, maybe 45 days for Piedmont, right? 45 to 60 days. That still gives you guys then 4 months to get it done. And that hits us right at July 1st. Worst case scenario. Or best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you come back and we discuss this for August 30th or something. I know we're counting pennies over here, but we also look at all the residents that are all dealing with all the construction, potential delays. You've got a lot of traffic over there. So if we can just show the residents that are online tonight watching and the ones that are in the room, we can try and do this in good faith. And July 1st is what the goal would be hitting. And if we got to set back and punt, we can do it.
Would that be the condition, the additional 25?
I'm just looking to hit a date. That's all I'm looking for. And then if we hit the 50, if we got to come back and then go down that way.
Well, I think I'm thinking about that too.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hefner.
Thanks, Mayor. You've done enough improvements on the road already. What's your estimate cost per house
It's
for all the road improvements?
for the widening, including the multi-use path that's adjacent to it. It's just under $6 million.
What is that per house? Per
We're 330s. It's like 16.5 per lot was it would be what we would classify as offsite improvements for the project.
$16,500
Somewhere in the
per
ballpark.
residential unit.
Yes, sir.
It's a lot more than what we're asking for today.
And it's a finish. It's a improvement that's going to be done. It's already well underway, not years down the road after all the funds are collected.
Yeah, and so thank you for that. So $6 million in offsite road improvements, that's pretty significant on a project that was actually going to get built in the county.
Correct.
Actually, we turned it down. We went to the county, got approved, and then I don't know how we ended up getting together, but we ended up negotiating a deal, which you agreed to, and voila, City of Mount Juliet's getting $6 million in offsite road improvements, and we're talking about, give them an extra 30 days. I mean, let them pin it to 75th CO. Let them pin it to the 31st, July 31st. I mean, $16,000 per residential unit offsite road improvements, and I think that's pretty significant. I mean, I don't know. I think we're tripping over pennies for dollars. So that's just some background and some history on that. And
Commissioner Giles.
If we have a time frame, then you could have all the COs pulled. So the planning commission said 50. 50.
Total of 50. Yes, sir.
Right. So I think that's sort of meet in the middle. I think that's where it should be. So, and I think you can get that. And then if you can't negotiate and you can't get it done with Piedmont, then you can come back. If you only got 3 now, you're talking about 47 COs. So if it was 50.
Commissioner Hefner.
since the variable is Piedmont, which is the unknown, why don't we pin it to the date that Piedmont completes the movement of their gas line and pin a date to that? Otherwise, we're just kind of guessing, right?
Yeah.
We're hoping that they're going to show up and they're going to move that gas line. They may not. We're running into winter. We're having a late winter this year, so I don't know if they're working during the snow season or not. But there's still a lot of variables. You may be back up here in 2-3 months asking for another 25 extension, another 25 COs.
Yeah, I don't know what's the easier to sort of enforce or manage or track for all of us. I mean, I think not as we stand now, but I guess the recommendation for the planning commission is the additional 25 for a total of 50, which is pretty easy to keep up with. I was trying to, in my head, craft it on an earlier ladder of, I don't know if I can, just off the shoulder here, figure that out. But I think we're, again, would not be up here if it wasn't for this most recent news from Piedmont, or update from Piedmont. We would have probably stuck with or continued on with what Planning Commission had recommended, and hopeful for a favorable vote there.
So, again, I mean, thinking about this, the school's going back August 3rd. If we do hit that July 30th, I'm like July 31st, just go by the date versus, so we do 50 or July 31st, whichever one comes first. What are your thoughts on that? Just so we can get this wrapped up.
I think we're good with that.
So that's my motion. If I can get a second, I guess.
Raise your motion, please.
Motion would be still the 50. So I guess I just want to make sure I word this correctly. So whichever one comes first, it'd be the July 31st date for completion of the road improvements, or the 50th CO.
Okay, so the road improvements must be completed by July 31st or 50th CO.
Correct. 2026, of course. Make sure we put that in there.
Good point. All right, any other questions or comments on the amendment? All right, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the ordinance? All right, all in favor of the ordinance, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It does pass. You could have passed by a vote of 3-2.
Thank you.
Yes. Uh, 10G, which is an ordinance to amend the City of Mount Juliet Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, regarding residency requirements. There's motion second. 10G is on the floor. Commissioner, it's under your sponsorship. Would you like the floor? Commissioner Mullally, you're recognized.
All right, this is nothing but housekeeping. So as years and years ago, our code had said that the city manager must live inside the city limits. And then over the course of, so they passed, whatever it was, they passed back then to, the board approved him to live where he lives now, which is real close to the city, I think. It's right outside of it. But it was never, where's it at? It was never adopted to enter it into the code to match the employee personnel manual. So that's all this is. It's just housekeeping is all it is. So nothing is going to, change. So the way the ordinance is written, the next city manager must live inside the city limits. So, yeah. And then it also included the fire chief and the police chief to a variance to allow them to live within, 30 minutes response time, I think it is. Yes. So that's all this is housekeeping.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Vice Mayor?
Just kind of curious because when you say the outer part of the city, or are you saying just within the city? Because that's why I was trying to understand this, and I was going to get with legal, but I honestly, slipped my brain with all the other topics that we were talking about today.
Or
Well,
police chief.
Well, for the city manager, because I was wondering about, as in, if you look at our city map, we've got a lot of pockets that are within the county, right? Or I mean, that's within the city that are pockets that are county. So if they live on the outer skirts and inward, is that what we're trying to clear up?
I'm like, I
or-
don't even know where he lives, but I know he lives close to the city limits. So the BOC years and years ago approved that he could live where he lives and be the city manager.
Sure. So, but
But
I guess that's what my question could be is this that you have to live in the city or you have to live, because again, if I look at the map, we've got a lot of pockets that are still county, but you're still within the center part of the city.
That would be city limits. The
That's what I'm
next
asking.
city manager
Is this the outer
would be
edge of the city?
required to live inside these city limits.
Thank you. That's what I'm just trying to get some clarification.
Ms. Burnett, please help us out.
As the employee personnel manual reads right now, they have to live within the city limits with the caveat that if a new city manager comes about who is already an employee of the city, the commission can waive that requirement. That's how the personnel manual reads right now, which was passed back in 2012 by the BOC.
Very good. Any other questions or comments?
So I'm going to ask that other side, which is it the outer edge of the city limits?
It is the city limits.
City limits. That's what I'm saying is, but we've got pockets right up the street here. I understand that, but that could be annexed at any time. So
To be clear, it's the city limits for the city manager. It's different for the fire chief and chief of police. That's 30-minute response time to the city limits.
do one for one. We should do it for all of them. I mean, honestly, but I mean, it kind of beats the cause here. I mean, there's folks
I mean,
that are in
it-
Providence that are further away than it would be our own city manager. I mean, like if they live right around the corner here, that's part of the county. So, but you're
Yeah,
still within the city limit, like
I
the
mean,
outer city
This
limits,
is just
right?
housekeeping of
I know,
something that
I
was
know.
approved years and years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh yeah, nothing against personal, for anybody. I'm just trying to make a point here is that, like right around the corner here, we got county and it's within the city limits, the outer city limits. So it's all about interpretation of that. So that's all I was just trying to make a point for the citizens.
Well,
that are here.
there's either city limits or there's county. They may have mailing addresses that's Mount Juliet, but they don't live inside the city limits.
I
They
understand.
live in the county.
Yes, ma'am. And I
Yeah.
was just making a point that, again, on the outer edge of the city, okay, versus right around the corner here, we got folks that are in the county that are closer to the city hall than we would be up there in Providence, right? So I'm just making a point. That's all.
All right. Any other questions or comments on the
Sorry.
ordinance? All right. All in favor of the ordinance, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Sorry. It's okay.
The next item is 10H, an ordinance to enact a one-year moratorium on the acceptance and approval for multifamily residential developments in the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
All right, well, I'm going to shock everybody and give it a second.
There we go.
You want it discussed, we'll discuss it.
The item's on the floor. It's under your sponsorship. Commissioner Hefner, would you like the floor?
That's all I asked was an opportunity to have an open discussion. One that's not on Facebook and one that's not during commissioner comments. So thank you, Commissioner Mullally, for that. I did make a change to the ordinance. I did remove single family residential units out of the ordinance. So this strictly is multifamily, high density, which is RM8, RM16. Also, that would include CMU, which would include RM8 or CMU with RM16, and same for CTC zoning. Really, the catalyst, one of the catalysts, there's several catalysts for this, but when you look at single family home residential units compared to our developments, such as the one that just came in, that we just voted on, when you compare a residential development compared to a 300 unit apartment complex, that apartment complex, when they do the ribbon cutting, first of all, they've been pre-leasing, pre-renting those apartments literally the day I'm sure that they get approved. So when you have a ribbon cutting, you have the greatest amount of impact in the shortest amount of time that hits the city of Mount Juliet compared to a single 300 residential unit subdivision that's going to be built out over a period of time, phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and it's usually 30, 40, 50 homes at a time. So really the main driver for me is the amount of immediate impact an apartment complex or a townhome community has almost immediately, as opposed to a single family home residential development, as I spoke about. And as far as I know we talk about a moratorium. Yes, it's a bad word, but I really wish there was another term for it. This is not a permanent measure that I'm asking for. This is a measure that I'm looking to put in place for 1 year. And by the way, this could be amended, or it can be brought back, and if it even passes, which I doubt it will. So a 1 year pause on the acceptance of applications for multifamily high density housing is what I'm asking this board to consider. We have this other comments I've heard online and elsewhere. This is going to bankrupt the city. It's not going to bankrupt the city. That's ridiculous. That's a joke. That's ridiculous. This is going to have an impact on running the city. We're not going to be able to pay for infrastructure. Again, it's a 1 year pause on accepting applications for high density housing, which again has the most immediate impact to the people that are going to be moving here to the city of Mount Juliet. And as far as the bankruptcy and we're going to lose all this money in infrastructure, here's a startling fact. You can debate the time frame on this, but I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but you're about to. So what we currently have under construction, these are projects that already been approved. Some of them approved within the last 5 years, some of them approved 10 years ago. Hell, there might even be one in here that was approved 15 years ago. But what we have under construction, as far as residential units, under construction, meaning they broke ground, they're pushing dirt, 4,422 residential units currently under construction. Wrap your head around that. We have another 2,000 units, 2,007 to be exact, that have been approved. Now, that's a total of 6,500 residential units that are either under construction or have been approved. Now, if you look at our population, which will be effective July 1, July of this year, the current projection for the city of Mount Juliet population is going to be 44,066. That's based on an estimated census that's coming out July 1, correct, city manager? Okay. So if you take 44,000, which we're saying is going to be the population in 6 months, and you add the number of under construction and the number of approved, we plan on, and you take the U.S. Census of per individual, per residential unit, take the U.S. Census, which I think is I'll do the math here in a minute if I have to. That puts this at full population, at full build out, that puts the city's population at 61,617. That's a 45% increase in population just based on what's already under construction or approved. So are those all going to be built out in the next 5 years? I don't know. Anybody's guess. Most of those are apartments, by the way. Most of those are high density housing. I can get the numbers, but I'd venture to say it's probably close to 40% is by way of apartments. And we have several that are already under construction. So again, not going to break the bank. We're not going to bankrupt the city. We got plenty of people that are going to be moving here over the next 5 to 10 years based on what's already under construction. I'm just asking for us to take a 1 year pause in high density housing multifamily high density housing, which is going to have the greatest immediate impact on the city's population, period. Somebody tell me differently. So that's simply what I'm trying to do. And I'm simply trying to have an open debate. That's my position on it. And I challenge anybody to prove me wrong.
Vice Mayor, recognized.
So, Commissioner, you know what? I appreciate it. I actually appreciate Commissioner Mullally actually seconding this because I'll be honest, it's challenging because again, you know, it's just a year that you see that. But if we look back at what we did for just example of the budget, right? You know, so we kept it down at that, 9 cent and 11 cent. And then all of a sudden we had to jump, right? The last thing in my district that I want to see or even having to vote for other people's district is that, all of a sudden we get that, like that slow gap of a year when it comes down to projects, right? Then all of a sudden everything floods, not as in, going to shut down everything or just, again, the way I see it is that that's part of our job up here is to help, I would say control that growth, right? By approving certain projects or again, getting projects to be able to go through under a PUD so we can have that, discussion that more in depth. So it is challenging to, to vote this down or to vote for it because whether or not the way I look at it is that, the last thing I want to do is have that empty pocket of anything happening, for a year. 12 months is a long time. I can say that. And even though that you're taking out, the high density side of things, it's still the fact of how's that bubble going to work in 13 months, 14 months, and 16 months from there? Is it still going to be the same type of vision? Or is it again, what we always talk about and what you and I've talked about through these meetings and even off record, it's just, that's all based off the market. The market is the one that determines whether or not if growth is going to come to our city or not. So that seems to be the challenge right there is, these developers, if they come in here, they see value, that's where they're going to come to this commission and also our planning board to be able to simply say, hey, we see value on this piece of land and that's how we're going to control it. It's just like what we see with the taxes, just like what we see with the citizens, whether or not if they agree with how we're trying to run each district to be able to listen to them and go from there. So it is challenging tonight, especially when this is brought up. I'm like, when I read through this, I see both sides of it. I really do. Especially when the gentleman was up here for citizens comments talking about, okay, how are we going to handle, cutting waste, taxes, and growth? This could be one potential area that we could be able to help out with some of the growth. But that's also the other side of it is that the bubble at 13, 14, 15 months from now, how does that look? So I just want to get your thoughts on that if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I appreciate the comments and your thoughts, and let me respond. So again, let me just state this. This is not a total ban on residential units. I'm not asking to ban every residential unit that's in our zoning books. I'm talking about we used to have low density, we have medium density, and we have high density single family homes that it doesn't have anything to do with those. So we're still going to have an opportunity to see single family homes coming in to Mount Juliet with those three densities. The reason why I'm isolating apartments is because of the immediate impact it's going to have on the city of Mount Juliet. When those apartments are built or constructed, they open the doors, those things come in, everybody's moving in on the same weekend or within certainly a short period of time, those things fill up. With a 300 lot subdivision, that's going to build out over a period of time. So I'm not trying to eliminate growth. First of all, this is a 1 year pause, not a total ban. And it's a 1 year pause on high density multifamily for 1 year. If we want to look at something shorter than that, I'm open to it. But I'm not asking for a pause on single family, low, medium, or high density single family homes. This is just specific to multifamily high density.
Commissioner Giles?
Yeah, Commissioner Hefner, I have not necessarily a problem, but I would like for you to explain, the city is also reviewing a lack of sewer availability. That is over, to my understanding, the lack of sewer availability is north of Lebanon Road from Bender's Ferry in that area, and we're not approving anything because we don't have the sewer availability. So we've pretty well put a stop to that period. So I don't see how a moratorium is going to deal with that at all. The other area of sewer challenge is down on the other side of Lebanon Road, close to Nonneville Road or on Nonneville Road, which that's all in my district. And we're in that's going to be taken care of too. Isn't that correct? So I'm not necessarily sure that should be in there about the sewer, because I don't know of any lack of sewer availability anywhere except in those two areas. And when that was made aware to me, I called a workshop that we attended to address this. We also approved this in this year's budget, and they are also buying the right of ways right now so that we can increase that availability over north of Mount Juliet Road. Is that correct? Okay, so that's the only, this right here, I think that needs to be reworded or something, because it's not going to affect the sewer availability. Yes.
Commissioner, I'll say on that 6 whereas, you brought up the point there, the city's reviewing the lack of sewer availability when the city's sewer system includes plans to increase capacity and budget require. I'd actually, when the plans were first presented to me, I think Tim and Shane, and I think we all had to think here about the lack of availability up there. I think my first response was, I think I'll bring a resolution stating that we can't go to construction on this. We can keep working, but we can't go to construction on the project until TDOT starts widening Lebanon Road. And my thoughts were to use that as a natural moratorium on that, one that can't be challenged in court, because no one can take us to court and force us to expand our sewer system. So I see where you're going with that. Commissioner Hefner?
Yes, thanks, Commissioner Giles. Appreciate the comments. To address the sewer, and I have full faith in our Public Works Department when it comes to sewer, but my understanding is that sewer issue just came about within a relatively, it was unknown, right? Was that a true statement? Was this something that came about all of a sudden, or did we know about the sewer capacity?
Mr. Forcom, you want to come to because that statement, lack of capacity, has caused some people to question.
Well, let me make sure I make my statement clear. It was brought to my attention last year, I think it was last year, that I'm paraphrasing, that we found out we had a sewer capacity problem, and it seemed like it was something that was a surprise to us. Now, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not doing anything like that. Is that true or close to being accurate, or was I told something that was not?
Well,
factual?
there's two layers to it. We've got capacity issues within our lines that go to the pump stations, and then we have pump station capacity, and all the capacity was given out to the developments that have been approved. Now, technically, we're not using it all up at the current time, but we've already allocated the capacity for any developments that have been approved. Now, like you said, we don't know when they'll be completed. And once we approve construction of the new regional pump station over around the Bender's Ferry area, then that's not an issue anymore.
Okay.
So construction is what will determine how we move forward on the north side.
Okay.
But you've got the Bender's Ferry projects, Traymore, Bender's Cove, additional phases to Silver Springs that were approved last year. So all of those have taken away the capacity. And what Commissioner Giles was talking about on the Nonneville Road end, so Elliott's Reserve took up line capacity. But we do have a project coming up that will upsize the lines. It's already been approved. It's about to go out to bid, so that'll take care of that.
Really?
But that's how it's happened. It's not we're not physically out of capacity. We have established the capacity for the projects.
Okay. So I guess the long and the short answer is we did know about the capacity because I was under the impression that it was something that kind of caught us off guard a little bit, and now we're having to address it.
I think at the rate the developments were coming in, then we started looking hard at the future of capacity.
So to that point, so have we looked across the city to see if we might potentially run into a similar situation somewhere else within the city limits? To make sure
No,
that
the south side is available. No, the north side is the only real problem.
we sure about that?
It just depends on the type of development. I mean, we've got the Baltz farm that area needs sewer. This project on the north side would provide for that.
So, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Tim. I really do. So again, and I'm fine taking the sewer capacities out, but I think I think my point here is if we can pause, let's take a look across the entire city. If that hasn't been done, if it's already been done and we know we need to stop and start planning and start accommodating for the expansion of some of our sewer lines to meet future expansion needs, and let's take a look at that. I just don't want to get caught like we did last year with this situation. Again, if you're confident sewer is not going to be a problem and we're good there, I'm fine taking the sewer requirement out of the ordinance completely.
Well, taking consideration the numbers of homes, single family.
And I get, by the way, that it's a built-in moratorium because we're not going to be approving any more projects where we don't have sewer capacity. So that in and of itself, I acknowledge, is a moratorium in and of itself. But where else are we going to run into potential surprises? Again, I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody, you or anybody in staff level. But if there's some other issues or surprises, I think maybe 1 year might be a good opportunity for us to really dig in and do some analysis. If it's not an issue, tell me. I'm not the expert. You guys are the experts. So if it's not an issue, I'll pull the sewer capacity language out of the ordinance. I'll make the motion myself.
Not with the planned projects that we have. I mean, we've got one more phase of our central trunk line that runs through the middle of the town. We will need to look at that in the next couple of years as far as upsizing that line. We just completed the second phase. There's 3 phases. Once we complete that, we'll be very established on capacity through the central part of the town going to the metering station.
Okay. You got 6,500 homes that are over 4,000 that are currently under construction.
And I did the rough math just a second ago when you tossed the number out, and that's about 2.2 million gallons of sewer extra a day.
Okay. And we feel good. We've got the capacity to.
We have calculated the capacity for those approved developments. Yes.
Okay.
We don't double issue capacity, do we?
Do not.
Okay. Just
No.
part of the planning.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll say the 7th whereas, it says, whereas pursuant to the city's land use plan, multifamily residential developments are included in RM8, RM16, CMU, CTC zoning classifications, which are further defined in the city's zoning regulations. This, I guess one is what gets accomplished in 1 year's time. I don't know, but if CMU and CTC can open up the possibilities for a lot of things out there that I would prefer that we just considered here at the table as to whether we want to move forward on that. If we were just wanting to put a moratorium on RM8 and RM16, I mean, I'd support a 5-year moratorium.
Can I respond to that?
Certainly.
I appreciate the comments. And originally, our city attorney can attest to this. Originally, I asked for a 3-year moratorium. And at the advice of our city attorney, who consulted with MTAS, it recommended against anything above a 12 month. So I actually backed it down at the advice of our city attorney. I'm not opposed to removing CMU and CTC and keeping it strictly to RM8 and RM16. Although I will say that most of the high density multifamily units are coming in under CMU. So I really don't know how effective it's going to be in the long run, but I'll take what I can get.
Well, I'll make that motion to strike CMU and CTC.
I'll second it.
All right. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I don't know if that was referring to the whereas. We may have to look at what it says under the period of 1 year subject reviewing. I guess I'll ask our attorney to look at section 1 under therefore be ordained.
The multifamily is allowed in CMU and CTC, correct, John?
Yes.
Okay, so section 1 and section 2 specifically call out multifamily, so that would not allow it in CTC or CMU.
Well, how do we change it to RM8 and RM16?
I would replace multifamily residential with those exact zoning.
Strike multifamily and specifically call out those two zonings.
Yes.
All right. I'll make the motion under section 1 to strike multifamily residential and replace with RM8 and RM16,
Also in section 2.
and where it's referenced in section 2. All right. Questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, it does carry. All right, back on the ordinance is twice amended.
Also the title of the ordinance itself.
I will. Any other comments? Commissioner Mullally.
All right. Here we go. All right. I just want to point out that the RM8 could also be if a developer wanted to come in and build, 30, 50, whatever units of townhomes. So are we just not going to allow any townhomes under RM8 if someone, comes in with a 20-acre lot and
Yes and no. If it's already approved, it still moves forward if it's already in the pipeline or being considered. But that's a good point. I do want to call that out, that anything already in the pipeline. So don't call me if something starts under construction. Yeah, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. Don't call me if something goes up under construction. If it's already in the approval process, this doesn't apply. So yes, to your point about RM16, if this passes, wouldn't be able to consider it for a year. RM8
not
and
RM16.
RM8 and 16 both apply. We wouldn't be able to consider it for a year.
Yeah, I just can't see the advantages of that. And as it was stated, most of our CMU projects include a combination of single-family townhomes and apartments. So, as well as commercial. So if they're not allowed, well, okay, so you took out CMU, right? Okay, so wouldn't affect the multifamily. So Commissioner Hefner talks about the growth that's coming, which I wouldn't disagree with, but we can't ignore at the current budget that we're in at budget time, our growth rate did drop from 7+% to 2.5%. You can't ignore that. Sales tax revenues dropped. He talks about, again, the population growth. Well, people have to have places to live, right? Not everyone wants a single family home, specifically millennials. They don't want the maintenance. They don't want the yard. They don't want to mow the yard, whatever. So they have to have places to live. It's no secret that I don't support this moratorium for many reasons. All this proposed, all right, you wanted it discussed, I'm going to discuss it. All this proposed moratorium is strictly political with ulterior motives for future aspirations. In a nutshell, it's a retribution for Mirabella failing. The city of Mount Juliet is one of the fastest growing municipalities in Tennessee and experiences annual increases in population, residential construction, and commercial development. Unmanaged or fiscally imbalanced growth can result in long-term infrastructure obligations exceeding long-term revenue capacity, creating what is known as a growth Ponzi scheme, where new development is required to subsidize old obligations without adequate financial sustainability. According to the language proposed, it does not explain how this moratorium is in the best interest of the citizens. That's merely opinion. It says this moratorium is reasonable and necessary to prevent development inconsistencies with the city's planning goals. However, it doesn't explain what the city's planning goals are. It says multifamily developments may strain public infrastructure by impacting traffic. However, it says nothing about sprawl, which actually increases the demand for infrastructure needs and increases traffic on the roads. What exactly would a one-year temporary pause on multifamily accomplish? Well, it doesn't say exactly, other than it's necessary, again, opinion, to allow time for review of zoning regulations. I'm not aware of any on multifamily. To allow time for TDOT's plans and budgets. Well, we pretty much already know these, and nothing is going to happen in a year's time as far as TDOT's plans. Best case scenario, Lebanon Road could be included in TDOT's budget announcement for December of 26, but if it's not, are we going to continue to extend the pause year after year until they fund it? So I guess it's saying unlimited numbers of single-family developments and commercial developments are okay to approve now since those were removed from this moratorium. So more sprawl, in other words. As far as sewer, it's already been discussed, but we don't need an ordinance to restrict any development in the northeastern portion because that's already at capacity. If the city can't supply sewer to that section, then it's common sense that it can't be approved. Unless, of course, some development wants to come in and pay for it. So, as you may or may not know, we held a public work session in December regarding smart, sustainable growth and infrastructure responsibility for the future. And it was unfortunate that Commissioner Hefner could not be here. And again, I'm sorry about the loss of your friend. In the PowerPoint presentation, we showed how moratoriums rarely work and often backfires. We talked about the growth Ponzi scheme that sprawl produces and why blanket density bans fail. We showed that the future of Mount Juliet is based on the Strong Towns planning concept, which are walkable clusters of mixed-use developments, including a downtown area, which reduces sprawl and increased infrastructure demands that create more traffic. Restricting multifamily drives housing prices up. That's a fact. And it limits options for families and seniors. We showed that a smarter alternative is a strategic targeted pause and fix. In other words, pause on projects that fail infrastructure capacity test, pause only those that fail fiscal impact analysis, those with long-term liabilities, and poor street connectivity. Require developers to show revenue with long-term maintenance costs, deny or redesign projects that create taxpayer liabilities, which protects taxpayers without banning housing options. Encourage the right kind of density, not just dense housing, but dense value. You don't ban density, you pause and fix fiscally irresponsible development. You use strategic tools that outperform blanket moratoriums. You have better design, a stronger tax base, reduce sprawl, and have healthier infrastructure budgets. This is the future of Mount Juliet for the next 20 to 40 years. What we need to do is implement a comprehensive growth management framework to ensure that all development approved is fiscally sustainable, that infrastructure obligations do not exceed available revenues, and that the taxpayers of Mount Juliet are not left with unfunded liabilities. This is what is in the best interest of the city and our citizens. Now, I have a couple of other things, but I'll pause to see if anyone else has anything.
Commissioner Giles.
So all of these things that you're stating is in your opinion, and you've researched it somewhat too. Okay?
We showed all this in the work session.
Right. I
That
mean, everything you're saying tonight is just your opinion. So, and I appreciate you sharing that. So that's
again, the work session was based on the strong towns concept.
okay. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Hefner.
Appreciate the comments. You're incorrect about the Mirabella reference. I notice you still have you're a storyteller on your Facebook page, and that was nothing more than you telling a story. So, again, I'll reiterate my points here. This is a 1-year pause on accepting applications for multifamily high density housing. This is not a permanent moratorium. This is a temporary pause on the acceptance of applications. This does not have anything to do with single family homes. As far as all your other points, again, I go back to the statistic that we already have plenty of capacity, or excuse me, plenty of inventory of homes, both apartments, which addresses your affordability concern. We already have apartments, single family homes, small, medium, low density. It's already in the pipeline, 4,400 residential units that are currently under construction. All your points are I take note of them, but a one year pause gives us an opportunity to take a deep breath and say, oh, look, do we have any other issues that need to be addressed? I mentioned the 10-year plan for TDOT. That hasn't been officially announced for Lebanon Road. Maybe they'll have it within the next year. Maybe they won't, who knows? But at least 1 year gives an opportunity, and staff, by the way, an opportunity to take a break in having to review these high density plans. As far as, Central Pike Interchange, look, it's on the 10-year plan. They already made that announcement. Hopefully the $25 million of federal grant money that that staff managed to get by way of Matt White, Mr. White, was able to get as a federal grant, $25 million, which saves TDOT $25 million. Hopefully that will accelerate it to an 8-year plan. We don't know. That hasn't been decided yet. We haven't seen or heard of any results from any ongoing conversations. So again, question mark. The other question mark is the $25 million that we're saving TDOT. Where's that money going? Is that money going to go to some other municipality, or is it going to get diverted or redirected to Lebanon Road? We don't know. I'd love to know that. But until then, again, I'm asking for a 1 year pause on high density housing, which has an immediate impact on citizens moving here and living here and driving around and hitting our school systems almost nearly immediately. So again, those are my points. Appreciate the second and the opportunity to have this open discussion.
Do have a question to the city attorney about the defensibility of this, because it was stated that MTASC recommended 1 year. if it's 1 year and you renew it at the end of a year for another year, does that constitute 2 years? Is there a recommendation not to renew it, or just what? Or does it just need to be considered in 1 year chunks? I mean,
MTAS just recommended no more than a year and to revisit it if you need to after that year to see if your reasons for putting it into place in the first place still exist.
okay. And since Marabella was initially issued as a reason for this, is that a defense issue?
I don't see it in the ordinance, so I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
Well, it was mentioned on the meeting at 1027 that since we couldn't pass more Marabella, a moratorium would be brought at the next meeting. If we can't pass 400 homes, then staff shouldn't waste their time considering apartments.
I don't have an actual recollection of, I'm not saying that didn't
Yeah.
happen. I just don't have a personal recollection of that happening. I just know it's not in this ordinance, but if that was said before, I don't know if that's the basis for this. I don't know.
All right. Commissioner Hefner?
Yeah, I'll address that. So I think what you're referring to is a comment. So yeah, let's go back and retrace history. Yeah, so let's talk about Marabella. So again, this is a 400 plus single family home, large lot, multifamily, multi-million-dollar homes that were going to be built out over a period of 10 years. So you do the math, that's an average of 40 homes a year. The project was committing, I don't have the rough numbers, it's been a minute, nearly $3 million towards road improvements. Lebanon Road, specifically road improvements. The development was a private gated community, which isn't going to burden the taxpayers by way of the HOA is going to be responsible for maintaining those roads and sidewalks. So it's significant savings and burden on the citizens of Mount Juliet. Private, gated, guarded, handling the nuisance calls, which is which helps relieve some of the burden that would have put on Mount Juliet Police Department, because that was an issue or a concern that came up. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you know, you're selling 5, 10, 15, $10 million homes. I mean, do the math on property tax impact that's going to have to the city of Mount Juliet. So yeah, I've made the comment, if we can't pass a project like that, where you're going to have a development and all the check boxes that I've sat up here over the past 5 years of commissioners and planning commission members requesting and asking, then why would we waste time considering apartment complexes, which has a greater impact, more of an immediate impact on the citizens and the roads and the streets and the schools, than a project like Marabella that is going to be built out over a period of 10 years. And yeah, I said it. I'm not going to deny I didn't say it. Obviously, it's on tape. And I'll say it again. I mean, yeah, I was a little shocked by that, but it is what it is. They're going to build out the county, so we'll see. Maybe. So I don't know if that addressed your question or you're just trying to make a point.
Well, I guess my point is it says a moratorium will be brought if we can't pass, since we
It's
couldn't
not in
pass
the
this
ordinance.
I know it's not in the ordinance, but it was said there. So the question was, if Marabella passed, and this is the question somebody else raised, if Marabella had passed, would there have been a moratorium?
Yeah, possibly, for sure. Why not? Well, how does that change anything? How does that change TDOT approving Lebanon Road to get put on the 10-year plan? How does that have any effect on TDOT putting Central Pike on the 8-year plan? Well, I mean, it doesn't change anything.
Commissioner Giles.
Yeah, if I may speak on the Marabella situation. If that had passed, and we would have a sewer, if you're talking about sewer capacity, we're going to have maintenance on a sewer line to run all the way out that far. Besides, it was right in the back of one of the subdivisions in my district, and it was going to tear all of that up, and we have blasting all the time. And so I think there was some we're talking about infrastructure, and we're talking about depreciation of sewer lines and stuff like that. I think it would be a big impact on our city. So that was a Marabella. I want to throw that in since Marabella's come up somewhere.
Discuss this.
Mr.
And
Hefner?
again, if we want to talk about Marabella, we can talk about it, but that's not what we're discussing. But since the mayor brought it up, I felt appropriate for me to respond to it.
Anyone else? We ready to vote?
No.
Is that a no vote or
Vote. I said initially that I had a couple other things to say, so I was just letting the rest of y'all say it. I have a point blank question to ask Commissioner Hefner. Were you set to get any contracts if Marabella had passed?
Now, before you go on and start making accusations, I want to proclaim, I've done absolutely nothing against the law. I've not violated any ethics ordinances. If you've got proof that I've done any of those, you bring it forward to this commission immediately. Otherwise, all you're doing right now is grandstanding. And you leaned over after the meeting, after the camera was out, after that November meeting, and said, Scott, I'm sorry. Don't take it personally. It's just business.
That's
So
right.
that's all you need to know about her comments that she's about to make and all the ones that she's been stating on Facebook. Scott, I'm sorry. Don't take it personally. It's only business.
It is business.
Business for what? Monkey business? 'Cause
City
that's-
business.
Oh, city business. Okay.
Anyway, she's laid into me before and said it's just business, but it sure didn't feel like it at the time.
Yeah.
Well,
So
don't
I-
apologize for something. Don't say something you have
Yeah.
to turn around and apologize for. If you know it's not right.
Well, I
then
wanted
don't
to
say
ask
it.
you that directly because I know you were very upset when it
And-
failed.
Well,
And
you were upset about a lot
Guys.
of projects that didn't pass, including the park down in
For-
Providence.
For the record, and your mic wasn't on, you asked if you benefited basically from any of this, correct?
I asked if he was set to get any contracts
Contracts.
if Marabella had
And his
passed.
mic was on. Okay, so that's on the record.
Okay. This moratorium is hypocritical at best. Commissioner Hefner is the one who pushed very hard to reduce the 20-acre minimum requirement for multifamily down to 10 acres citywide that would have resulted in mass expansion of multifamily across the entire city with very little road improvements, I might add. And honestly, this is my opinion. I don't really believe that he wants this moratorium. Rather, I believe he's more interested in personal support for future plans. After all, he's an investor, a developer who's now in the excavating business, who does profit from approved projects. He's always preaching transparency, so I think we need to be transparent. So for him to truly think this moratorium is what's best for the city and its citizens, it just doesn't add up.
Commissioner Hefner?
Yeah, let me respond to that. So first of all, the RMA, that was 6 years, that was 5.5, 6 years ago. We have, what do you mean so? I think that's pretty relevant because we've approved a lot of developments. We've approved a lot of residential, and yes, I voted for some of them, but at some point I got to say, look, enough's enough. I can't change what's happened in the past, but I can only affect what I'm going to do going forward. And as far as your comments about all the other nonsense, again, you've got some proof, you've got some evidence that I broke the law or I violated some ethics ordinance. Bring it forward. Bring it forward. You just said I'm benefiting from my seat. You're implying that I broke the law or
No, I
violated
never
some-
said that. I never said
One-
that.
Yes, you did.
I said you do profit off approved projects. and you do.
Again, bring the evidence that shows.
Are
that
you
I broke
denying
any
it?
laws? Show the evidence.
Are you denying it?
Bring the evidence that I broke any laws.
Are,
or
I didn't say
violated
you broke any
ethics.
laws.
This is not-
Are you
we- we're
denying that
getting
you
off the
profit?
ordinance.
All right.
Whatever the correct Robert's Rules of Order.
Well,
Call for question.
yes, that's the correct. I'm going to recognize Commissioner Hefner.
Call for question.
All right. Is there a second? Second. All right. All in favor of moving the question, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. All in favor of the ordinance as twice amended? All right. Any opposed? The ordinance passes with a vote of 3-1 on first reading. The next item on the agenda is 10R, an ordinance to amend, to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 0.92 acres of property at 6391 Central Pike, map 97, parcel 15, the property being located within the city's urban growth boundary. Is there any objection to reading 10S? 10S, an ordinance to rezone property located at 6391 Central Pike, approximately 0.92 acres, map 97, parcel 15, from Wilson County R1 to CMU commercial mixed use. Okay, so there's, all right, motion and second. Do you want to fix some acreage?
Yes. So the acreage in both of these ordinances for the annex and the rezone are incorrect. They're listed as 0.92 acre. It should be 2 acres. So I motion to replace all the references of 0.92 acreage to 2 acres.
What was the correct acreage, Commissioner?
2 acres.
2 acres.
Mhm.
So would a motion be appropriate just to replace 0.92 wherever it exists in either of these ordinances with 2?
Yes.
All right. I'll second that. Any questions or comments? All in favor of replacing the 0.92 and replacing that with 2 acres, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, back on the 2 ordinances once amended each. Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor of our 10R and 10S, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those do carry. The last item on the agenda is 11A, which is a Joint Economic Community Development Board appointment to position number 9. This is my recommendation with the Board of Commissioners to ratify, I guess is right. Currently, we have Commissioner Hefner serving in that position. I haven't asked him, but would you be willing to continue your service?
I would.
All right.
One more year.
I will affront Commissioner Hefner's name for consideration. All in favor of appointing Commissioner Hefner to the Joint Economic Community Board for another year for position number 9, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And sir, you've got another year.
Excellent.
And with that, we're on item number 12, which is adjournment. Is there any objection to adjourning and going home? Hearing none, we are adjourned.